Happy Friday, socialites. Welcome to the 42 Social Club, the best damn social club in the universe. I am your host, Jedi ASU, and thank you for joining me, spending some time of your Friday with me and our guest, Joey Palomarez. He is going to talk about his time at ASU, but most definitely his time in the suit, the Sparky suit, as it were. So it's actually going to be an outstanding conversation. As always, um, make sure you have a drink. You're just hanging out and ready to be part of the show. As always, make sure you get yourself your drink ready. Sit back, relax, and let's get social. It is Friday, September 11th. Never forget, as always, hopefully your day was outstanding. Mine was as well. I have been off the Twitterverse for a little while, so I've actually taken a little bit of a respite. So it has been a good week. And as always, as my tweet would be out there, hopefully your feet hurt because you kick so much ass this week. Can't wait to hear about that. As always, they have the chat. Make sure you go ahead and chime in with that and let us know your questions. Be sure to also subscribe and ring that bell. So every time I go live, I have new videos or any other items, we'll be able to go ahead and follow that along as well. That's actually a nice little mark on the chin, on the lip right there. I cut myself shaving because I always have to be clean for the show, but now I'm going to focus on that mark on my jaw, so I'll just go ahead and hide it with the mic so no one will ever see it. But with further ado, I wish to introduce the himself, Joey Palomarez. Sir, you are on the stream. I can see you. You look fantastic. How are you? I'm actually even wearing you on my shirt. I even have you behind me.
You are wearing, well, my past life. You're wearing my past life is what
There
you
you
are.
go.
Good. Thanks, Jedi, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Always, always. We have Will Jasper and Mike Rennie on the chat as well. So he's gonna go ahead and
Peggy.
yeah, they're out there talking. Will Jasper actually has a question for you. You got to talk about the ASU Oregon family rivalry. So yours may be a little bit closer than mine because I have several cousins at UO, but we'll be able to talk about that later on. Thankfully, we got some good questions. But how's everything with you? Tell everyone what's up. How has it been? Sans football and post Corona and all that. Well, it's I guess it's
Uh,
post
uh,
March. But anyway, how have
um,
you been?
I've been good. Like I said, I guess it's as good as I could be. I
Right.
think everybody else is kind of dealing with the same thing, so it feels good to real good to talk about some Sun Devil stuff. I think
Exactly.
that's the one thing that I realized as I was getting ready to go on this. I'm like, man, I can't remember the last time I actually talked about Sun Devil football and especially leaving my little world of ASU and Sun Devil sports is like I
Right.
actually have to deal with U of A fans now at my work, which is interesting. But College Colors Day was last Friday, and I got to have a little banter, so that was fun. But definitely missing ASU and like everybody else.
Exactly. No, it has been it's interesting too because everyone obviously with Pode and all the other publishers and everyone else is doing very good on the recruiting path and we're always getting some sort of news out there, but just being able to talk about
Right,
football in general, right? Specific to ASU because I think that's always something that we want, right? It was back to the most wonderful time video.
right.
I put that one out. I think it was important, but it was just it gave me an opportunity to kind of get excited, but you just want to see our boys on the field, right? And you have an interesting history because you were much closer to it. You were definitely, as I've hyped up, you've been on the field, you've traveled with a team and more. I would imagine.
Correct.
Into so when you were there, and by the way, what are you drinking today?
I went a little simple. I got the stubby out. It's always good to have a stubby, the session lager. Everything tastes better out of a stubby bottle, just so you
Very
know.
nice. Good. I went with a wine. I actually got a bottle my uncle gave me. But so you know, there's so many directions I want to go this way. And so, what was the first part of the year like? Because you just graduated, is that right?
Correct. Yes.
And that was were you a fall or winter, summer, spring? What graduation were you?
I technically just uh, finished my degree. Gosh, like a couple months ago, I finished over
Okay.
summer. But my graduation would have been in the spring. sadly.
God. Okay, so then it was all
Would have.
virtual. It was all virtual then. So even though, because they don't have a winter ceremony, do they? I don't remember.
We do have a winter ceremony,
Okay, got
so
it.
they've let us know that we can come back for that if we want. But I mean, at this point, who knows if that's going to even happen?
Exactly, exactly. And how is? Have you been around campus? What's it? I mean, what's it like? Because obviously, I don't know. But I mean, has it? Is it busy? Is it not busy? Have you seen?
Haven't gone.
Okay.
I got a lot of friends still there. I've heard it's a little bit more busy than you would think,
Okay.
but I guess it's a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds living their lives, and
Right.
I'll just leave it at that.
As we have seen going on Reddit and everyone else saying, yep, they are absolutely
Yeah,
going to live their lives. But you were with the athletic department for how
yeah.
long? So you were with the athletic department for how long?
Different roles. So like I've been involved in some way or another for the 5 years that I was in school the entire time.
Okay.
Just 942 crew for the first couple years. Then I was in an official role at Sparky for the third year,
Hmm.
and then my last 2 years I was a senior administration intern with the athletics department. So
Okay.
more in a official role, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But I had a lot of different experiences, saw a lot of different things about the department, the university, interesting meetings, stories, people. Definitely got a really cool experience, a well-rounded experience, I'll say.
And then so you started. Now, did you do anything your freshman year? Were you with 942 your freshman
I
year?
was. I
Okay.
actually, my first meeting with 942 was actually week after I graduated high school.
Wow.
So a couple of the guys that were in 942 at the time, like, the Mosers, Tim Schott, those guys reached out to me and they're like, well, I reached out to them and they said, hey,
Right.
you should come to a meeting. And I
Okay.
said, sure. So, I took my freshly graduated butt to one of those meetings and I started right away. So 942 has been a part of my life for a long time.
So they had, what was like one of the first things they had you do then?
I was doing the 942 social media actually since freshman
Okay.
year. So I did that for 4 years, for 3 years actually. So got to tweet behind that for a while. Had a lot of fun interactions and viral tweets, things like that. That was definitely fun and an experience that I don't think about as much as I should, and how cool that was to carry the honor of the student section on
Right.
Twitter at times.
And
But
that's
so
throughout
I
the
did that for a couple years and did some marketing.
and that's throughout the entire year across all athletics, I guess. All athletic events, I should say.
Correct. We at 942, I know it's a past tense for me now, but we focus on all of our sports at ASU, everything from football, men's basketball, down to water polo, and even golf. So
Okay.
it was fun to get that experience of all over the department.
And so then were you running around to events and doing stuff, or were you kind of like at a centralized spot and people would feed you stuff to tweet? Does that make sense?
Oh, we got a lot more organized over. Yeah, it can make sense. So we got a lot more organized over the years.
Okay.
Definitely a lot more being there and just we tried to portray what the student experience was at the time. So
Hmm.
I didn't want to be at home. I wanted to be at the game. So
Right.
I think that was definitely part of it. Just being there and being there with the students, things like that.
Right. And so what was the I've been thinking about this question and I wasn't exactly sure how to word it. But what was like the least rowdy event you had been to or covering?
Oh, absolutely. The golf events.
All,
It was we broke our Jedi. We broke a student attendance record. There was 4 people there. It was amazing. I actually we do cross country too. I didn't end up going to that. I
right.
think the 2 times that we did it, I was actually at a football game away.
Okay.
But yeah, those golf events, they were pretty off the chain.
With a whole squat. But I mean, obviously, is it just like the TV show where you just had to be quiet? You were just there jumping and running around, or I mean, you just were
Yeah,
observing?
well, we try to make it as fun as we could. So like we had lunch. I mean, I'm joking. There was probably like 11 of us there, and we just kind of were on the 18th green. And when we made it, we cheered and then shut up. And
Yeah,
like it was kind of a like we made it fun.
you
We made it
made
as fun as we could.
that's excellent.
But it's always good to show support, especially those athletes work just as hard as the football team. They
Absolutely.
don't get the I guess attention that they do, but
Absolutely. And so then when you're dealing with the 942 crew account, right? That's the official student fan the student section account, if you will. Is it? I would imagine. Am I saying that right?
We were the official student booster group of the Sun Devil Athletics. That's the words that we used to use.
Okay, got
So
it. So then if it was like like it's the ESPN student section, that's you guys. That's you guys doing that. That's who they
yeah,
talk about, right? And so you're hyping it up. So then
yeah.
other than Arizona then, because obviously there's some good hate back and forth with those with the Zona Zoo and the 942 crew, but what other student section which how do I let me turn it around. What was your favorite student section to interact with, and what is your least favorite other than the Zona Zoo? What is your least favorite
Oh,
section?
yeah. I mean, first off, the Zona Zoo was fun to mess with because they're terrible. Like they just like I don't know. Their student group was awful. Like I don't know. Like obviously I got my own feelings for U of A, but we definitely had some fun with them.
Right.
But UCLA was fun just because
Okay.
they like kind of dished it back out. Um, gosh, some of the ones that were we had like some friendly conversations with some that were not so like on top of each other. Like we had a lot of fun with, Wazoo and things like that.
Right.
But as for the ones that like UCLA would probably be the one that was just real annoying, even though they weren't U of A. We like to talk smack to them, and but
That was so then nothing out of the UW or Oregon State, or any of those other ones, or even non-conference teams weren't that engaging.
uh, we don't really engage with non-conference. For
Okay.
the Pac-12, we actually had a pretty good, tight little group.
Okay.
We didn't know each other like outside of Twitter or anything, but
Right. Right.
I think we had a group chat at one point with those of us who ran the Twitter accounts, and then the
Okay.
Pac-12 network would get involved with us and tell us to do certain things and things like that. But outside of the conference, we didn't really interact with anybody. It's
Interesting.
not as close of like I guess like a student group
Right.
perspective.
Okay.
But Oregon was lame. Washington was the worst. They had the lamest account besides Stanford. But I don't
Okay.
know. It was just fun to whoever would dish it back to us. We were down.
Yeah,
Like
it's like
we
okay.
were down to have some fun.
But so then there's no one, and again from a non, so then there's not even. That's interesting because, like, I'd imagine like the SEC or even the Big Ten or Big 12 student accounts are somewhat engaging, but I guess there's really no reason for them to engage us at all in general.
Well, I think the one thing is I guess the way that I think about it is we have to have student groups because it's harder to engage our students. Period. So, for
Yeah.
example, a lot of the SEC schools don't have like student groups per se.
Okay.
They just have student sections. So there are a lot of their accounts are just like some random person just has an account for the student section and they're
Got it.
not real attached to any of the school or the department or anything. So the Pac-12 is very organized in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
We all are either tied to the department or the university in some way,
Okay.
whereas in other places it's more like they're going to show up, so why engage them, kind of thing.
Oh, got it. Okay. So then, as a member of the 942 crew, you had 5 years worth of games. And again, these are the non-Sparky stories, but which is your least favorite stadium to visit as a student, other than the
I
one down
have
south?
I did all 12. I've
Okay.
done all 12. I actually went to every football game home and road for my first 4 years of school. So,
Wow. Okay.
which was awesome. I I had a car wreck in the process. Lots of 14-hour drives.
Right.
Lots of homework assignments I said I was going to do over the weekend that I never did, but
Right.
hence why it took 5 years. But gosh, my least favorite. I mean, the LA schools were fun, but the Coliseum is just not a fun place to watch a game. You
Mm,
can't see anything. They put you way in the corner, and but I think they all just kind of had their own charm of like what was cool about them and what wasn't.
right.
And so if I had to think of like just one place, I just was like, nah, it's just the Coliseum. Just didn't do it
Really.
for me. I
That
don't
was the
know. The
one that you
history is
didn't.
cool, but everything else about it is just, yeah.
It was built in the early 1900s, so it's like, I mean, what a 32 Olympics or whatever that was. So it's old, no matter how much you dress it up. And your favorite stadium then?
Uh, I hate to say it, but Oregon and Washington are on a level different than anybody else in the conference.
That's what I've heard about UW. That whole
Yeah,
Husky Stadium is just incredible. Although
it's pretty cool.
it can get cold as hell there though, depending on when we go.
Yeah, we went the first time. I think we was late October, and we were freezing, but and it wasn't even November.
Right. And then there's been some of those November games where it's just freezing, and it's just like I remember one game. It was so cold and so windy, the ESPN feed fell out. It just stopped working because the satellite or whatever and the heck else it was. And so then when you're watching the game, it's just the camera's just
Yeah.
wavering back and forth because it's just like it's on my bucket list. I know I want to go there. I just don't know if I want to go when it's that cold. Maybe I just
Yeah,
have
it's
to.
definitely cool. It rained both times I went. I went there twice, and it rained both times, which was kind of cool because I don't know. There's something cool about a rainy football game, but at the
Absolutely.
same time, it's not the funnest watching experience. Um, but the first time we were under like the big awning that they had, so it was
Right.
totally fine. But then the last time we went, we sat in the end zone and we were just wet,
You're
just not
exposed.
fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, was it the same for basketball? Did you do all the basketball arenas as well, or any of the baseball stadiums?
I've only been to one. I've been to both the LA schools for basketball. I think
Okay.
that's it. Um, that's yeah. I'm a big basketball guy. I mean, being in 942, basketball is our baby.
Right.
I played basketball in high school. Basketball is extremely important to me. So just that's one thing. It's like as I started to grow, I guess, and figure out what I liked, I'm
Right.
starting to realize that maybe my post graduate life and being a booster and a fan and everything like that's going to be more on the basketball end.
Right.
So I'm excited to start making some of those road trips. My girlfriend and I, Natalie, had a plan. We were going to go to Hawaii this year for the
Oh,
tournament,
right on.
the Diamond Head, and then that obviously is not happening. So
Yeah.
we're uh, we're looking forward. But oh, I went to Kansas. I can't believe I didn't talk about that.
So
I
you
went to the
did go to
Kansas game.
that. Wonderful. As a
Yeah,
student or
as
as
a student,
Okay, good. Okay.
we got $36 flights each way, and then so we all piled into an Airbnb. It was like seven of us, and
Who in the
um,
hell was offering $36 flights?
it was December 2nd or some weird date like that, and it was -4 degrees in Kansas, so we were the only crazy people enough to want to go there. But it was awesome. There was a lot of ASU fans there. Being a college basketball fan, being in that arena was incredible, and experiencing that, and then of
Right.
course just winning was wild. But that was a pretty damn cool experience.
That is, and again, like it's not Rupp is Kansas. Is Kentucky. That's
Kentucky.
Allen Fieldhouse is where you're
Now,
at, and that's history unto itself, right? So I mean, I can only imagine
yeah, it was
walking around and
the
just
original rules of basketball are there. So
absolutely, and just all the trophies and the decoration and the history and just
mhm.
everything about it must have been pretty amazing. And it was a Sunday night, if I remember correctly, right? That was a Sunday, that game.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Because I was like, did you guys get to come back that day, or did you have to stay an extra night and just party with
We
everyone?
stayed. We stayed an extra night. We got, like I said, we got $37 flights, so our times were weird. Like we flew out at like, gosh, 12:30 in the morning and came back at 11:14 a.m. Like it was horrible. But hey, if when you're a student and you don't have much money to deal with, that's kind of what you make it work. But
And you're
I had a group of friends that we like to travel, and we spent our
exactly
money on football instead of everything else everyone else spends in college. We didn't do the spring break trips or anything like that.
right.
So
That was a
um,
worthwhile trip, though.
oh hell yeah, it was. It was amazing. Like I just forget that even happened sometimes until I look at the pictures. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
that
and
was
it's just
incredible.
looking back, and I think that's another thing, right? And so, especially with this basketball team, right? Because it's such a different era for ASU ups. Because I talked with Kyle and I talked with Eric Biggie Mankus about how different it is from previous eras. And so, let's see, did Coach Hurley come in after you or at the same time as you did?
I was Coach Hurley's first. My first game as a student was Coach Hurley's first game,
Wow, so
and
you
I'll
guys
never
have
forget that
go ahead.
because we lost that game to Sacramento State, and I
Right.
remember we had just done so much promoting Coach Hurley and this new era of basketball. It was my first game. It was actually a Camp Fargo night, so there was like a bunch of people that came in from Camp Fargo,
Right.
and we're like, "Oh shit, here it goes again."
That's
Sun
what we
Devil basketball, right?
yeah, that's all we know is, and it's like I think that's going to be brilliant to look back on the uh the Bobby Hurley era to have begun with a loss.
Hmm.
I think that's absolutely brilliant because I think it's just if he had started his career with like 20 straight wins, then it would have been just something else. But I think having it with a loss, I think was like kind of tempered everyone's expectations, but it also like we were like, okay, this is new. We got our what is it, our newborn legs, and we're still trying to figure that out. So that's so the other than the Kansas win, and you were at both Kansas games, I would imagine. What was your favorite? This so I'm going to do this instead. What was your least favorite loss, basketball wise, during your time at ASU?
I mean, the U of A losses are always rough, especially losing i- in Tempe to U of A
Right,
in basketball is a just horrible experience. But that's tough. I mean, I got to put some of the Pac-12 tournament games up there.
right.
I don't know for those of you that are watching or the Pac 942 takes a trip every year for the Pac-12 tournament. So that's a huge thing for us. We like all the students there work to get on this trip. They market games. They bring students to games. It's like you actually have to earn it
Interesting.
because the school
Okay.
pays for everything. The
Right.
school pays for everything. They pay for the tickets, they pay for the hotel rooms, the bus, everything. So it's a huge moment because we're there with all our friends. We worked all year. We
Yep.
we stay until they lose, and then just losing some of those games. It had to have been the Colorado game where
Mm,
we were on the bubble. We ended up
right.
making it anyway, but we were on the bubble in that tournament. 'Cause that was a horrible just feeling and just
Yeah.
all day being like, oh, we just came here for nothing. We're not gonna make the tournament. I don't even want to be in Vegas anymore.
Do you
Half
have
of us are 21.
so you can't do anything anyway?
Can't go out anyway.
And so how many days do you have? It's like if we are outed in the first round, do you have to stay there more days or you just have to or you guys just leave like the next morning?
We leave the next morning. But we go there a day early, so we get there the day before the
Okay.
game. We do a community service project up in Vegas.
Okay.
We have the Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada. We work with them every year,
Okay.
or I said we worked. They work with them.
Right.
So it's cool. They get to do that community service project. We take a picture together in Vegas. Everyone has fun, and then it's like, okay, well, we're staying here till the team loses, and
Right.
makes you feel even more attached to what's going on.
Of
But
course.
it was going to be. I thought this year was going to be the year they were going to do it, and we were all ready to go, and it happens.
They were peaking at the exact right time this year. I mean, everything was coming together. However, everyone's back, which is even more
Yeah,
thrilling, right? Everyone's
except for
back.
Mello. Except for Mello, pouring
Well,
out for my man Mello.
yeah, Mello. I mean, I think Mello had to go ahead and find his happy someplace else. I know he was
Yeah,
doing well, but I think it's a fair reason for him to leave. But I think there's I mean, with Remy coming back and also with Evans and everyone else, it's just it's an incredibly loaded team. I mean, the expectations are going to be through the roof as it is, but hopefully these plans of them doing these mini bubbles or whatever the hell it is going to work out because we need to see this basketball team play. We just need
it
to.
sucks. And most likely we won't see it in person. I think that's what sucks is.
It's
But
I
hey, if you haven't made the Sweet 16 since the '90s, you'll take it when you get it, right?
absolutely, and I think that, and they could have done that this year. I think they would have been a little bit better
Yeah,
making it in this year as well. So I think it would have been a much better, healthier run with everyone. But again, with everyone being absolute that healthier, so it's just a matter of hopefully everyone does their job so we can see what's going on as well. But also, how about baseball? Were you doing a lot of the baseball events as well, or were there others that were covering it like you
yeah.
chose?
Baseball was kind of hard because it starts in basketball season.
Hmm.
So basketball's our baby. We got to work. We got to ride that out.
Hmm.
But we did do, and we tried to hit conference season hard. It's just college baseball isn't the draw that some of the other sports are, and of course with the not great results coming from our baseball program of late, it's kind of
Right.
hard to get people excited. But we did the baseball games, we did softball and baseball more than softball, and we had some fun. And I did a lot of Sparky baseball games, which
Really?
were my least favorite games because it's the Sunday games when it's 110 and you got to be there for 4 hours are not fun. But
You must have been able to have
it
maintained
is what it
your.
is.
You must have been able to have maintained your figure though. I mean, it must have been a sweatshop in that outfit when it's
It
110.
absolutely is a sweatshop. It's gross. I know we're not to that yet, but I have plenty of This is disgusting stories.
And then so did you so again as a student, right, you were able to use that. So but what are again, well, first of all, I want to say as a student, I can't remember what game it was, but you welcomed me into the front of the student section.
Yeah, that was gosh, the Utah blackout, I think maybe? It was a blackout, I think, but
Did I just can't remember if we won it. I think we did. I can't remember. Or did
I
they
think we did.
but anyways, you were able to invite me in that you just let me in and they it was a big stink and security was being pitching a fit, but I never thanked you for that, but that was actually pretty cool to be able to be that close because I'm
Of
always up.
course.
Yeah, thank you,
Of
but I'm
course.
always up there behind. I guess I'm behind the student section where those curvatures are. Where there's like little places where you can stand and have your drink there and kind of have a view
Oh,
looking
yeah, yeah, yeah.
northeast from that corner. I guess I'm in the southwest corner looking northeast, so it's actually a really good angle of the stadium. So
Mhm.
that's usually where I was at, but I was actually pretty good to be down there and see everyone else that was part of that. But um I was just trying to figure out, of those as part of the football right? You were there with the Double Inferno. Was that the time you were there?
My freshman year, yeah.
And it was only 2 years because I guess they got rid of it last year, right?
Yes, my sophomore year was the end, so we only did it for 2 years, correct.
Whose idea was that? You know,
Um, it was
if you don't want to name
someone's idea.
someone, it was someone's idea. Someone
It
high.
was not Coach Graham's idea.
Okay, so it wasn't. It was someone a little higher up in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to know this. Okay, so since you can, and everyone that's still out there, this is what I want. I want the Double Inferno flag. It'd probably cover my
Oh,
house.
do you know what's funny? Do you know what's funny? I'm like 90% sure I know where it is because we use that oh gosh. I don't know if that's the Double Inferno one or the Go Devils one, but we
Okay,
used to just we had this like storage unit that we would store a lot of things, and there's just this big tarp that's just like on the ground in there.
right.
And it might be the Go Devils one.
Okay,
Unfortunately I don't have access there anymore.
all right.
But no, that's funny though. That's funny that you said that.
Because I mean,
Gosh,
it's
that
there's two of them. There's two of them out there
yeah,
someplace,
there
and they're not getting
there is.
used anymore.
There is.
So
They're out there somewhere.
if you happen to know or hear something, it's like, man, what are we gonna do with this Double Inferno thing? It's like,
I
but it's
might have to
someplace.
call in my first favor and be like, "Hey, I need
Can you
that
imagine that?
double
It would. I
inferno
don't know
thing."
if you're. What is there? Are you in like a one bedroom apartment? Are you living in?
I'm here. I got a two bed. I got a roommate. We've got a roommate.
Okay,
So.
good. Because I was gonna say if it was a one bedroom apartment, it'd probably take up one of the bedrooms. It has to be a massive
Oh, it
flag.
would at least fill up. That thing is massive. Oh, it wouldn't fit in my apartment if we opened it. Like actually, that thing is huge. Uh, but yeah, because they have a Go Devils one now, the
Right.
Coke one. Yeah.
See, that would be the thing. So if I got my hands on it, I would actually. So there's this huge park to the east of my house, and so I would go get a drone. I would spread it out in the park, and then I'd fly up and then take a picture of it, and then say, "Yep, I have
That's
it."
funny.
Yeah, so I would actually be able to
That's
take it out
funny.
and everything else. So I would
Well,
make
I'm
some
sorry I
use
no
of it.
longer have any, not that I would have any pull to get it because I absolutely wouldn't back then, but, I'm sorry that I can't even make the ask
That's
anymore.
all right. Somewhat, it'll come up in conversation. It'll come up because no one's talking about it and no one's using it, and we know someplace
Right.
somewhere someone will be having it. So, and to Will,
I'm sure if we pulled together to write a little check, I mean, you know that university will do anything for a couple
I
for
don't
some
know.
money.
Okay, well, I'm not going to write a very big check anyway because guys aren't using it
No,
anyway.
that's
So,
why we all gotta pull in together. We all gotta come together to get this done.
yeah, exactly. And then it's like, go ahead and we'll. Can you imagine if we could go ahead and take it to like game day and just like cover all kinds? It'd be just
Yeah,
this massive blanket
yeah.
across the crowd. But anyway, they would be
I
funny.
think you're onto something here. It only takes. I bet you if a bunch of us just brought $5, we could get it done.
Could you imagine shipping
They
that
have to.
flag though?
Oh no, it would be costing more that we're talking about just to ship that thing to get it here. That's
Exactly.
funny.
It would be crazy. But there's two of them, so if one gets lost, we can ship the other in some crazy fashion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's because I thought about that. If you, I was like, I can't remember what I was watching, but I'm like, oh, that Double Inferno flag. It's got to be someplace, somewhere that no one
Yes,
is
I'm
using it.
pretty sure. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if that's it or not. But I vividly know the the room in which one of those flags sits. I don't know if it's the Go Devils, the Double Inferno, but
Now, is it in where the old Tillman Tunnel was at, under the student section, or is it
no,
someplace
it's just like
else?
in a storage unit on the concourse.
Oh, so it's actually there. Oh, okay, so it's not that far out of the way.
No, I'm
That's
not. I'm not encouraging anybody to go find it.
no,
First
no,
of
no,
all,
no. Well, no, we
I'm
need.
sure somebody will find you.
Well, I am going to actually go ahead and put it out there to the universe, as saying, someone go ahead and find out what's being used of it, and if it's not being used, please go ahead and email me, and we'll either figure out, because I mean, I actually, even if I took my truck, it would probably barely fit in the truck. I'd probably have to rent like
Yeah,
a U-Haul or something because it's so fracking massive.
yeah.
Maybe I didn't think this out too well. Maybe I did not think this out at all. But yes, but that's good. So I mean, have you watched any? Have you watched any of the college football games that have happened this year?
I haven't.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm kind of debating on whether or not I want to watch them this weekend.
Okay.
I'm just got a lot of torn feelings about us not playing and
Right.
whether I think they should be playing and do I want to participate in that
Right.
and to be honest, I think the biggest thing for me is like I'm a big sports fan, but I don't watch a lot of games that aren't us. Like I don't know, I just have like this weird,
Mm-hmm.
very interested in my teams.
Okay.
I'm not so much interested in everything else.
Right.
But I mean, I'll socially watch them if I'm with my friends, and college football Saturday is a little different just because it's college football Saturday. But
Right.
the only sport where I will literally turn on ESPN Plus and watch St. Francis play Duquesne is basketball. I will do that.
Oh,
I
interesting.
will watch
You
some
will
random
watch,
college basketball game.
and
But
again, that's I think kind of what Eric Menkes was saying, right? Is that that's really where that's his passion, right? And it sounds like
right,
that's your passion, is like as long as there's some sort of college basketball game, and it doesn't matter who it is, as long as there's
yeah,
something on TV, that's what you'll be watching, right?
hmm
Because there's so much more. I mean, there's a bajillion teams in D1 basketball anyway, so there's even more options to watch from, right? So, but hopefully they're able to work it out. I mean, it sounds like they're getting close to a plan. I think I remember mentioning this on another show, an earlier show, that if they're not talking about a plan in September, right, there really isn't going to, and then they show up in November, it's like, oh, we're going to do this. It's probably not going to happen. But at least if there's a
right.
2-3 month lead time, there's actually a chance that it'll work, which I'm really hopeful for. But we'll see.
I
It
know
might.
our opinions and thoughts don't matter, but all I gotta say is I'd be shocked if they don't play it. Especially after everything that's coming about with this rapid testing, and all of a
Right.
sudden they're like pushing like, oh, now we can play in November, and like who knows when they're gonna play, but I'd be shocked if they don't play that thing.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I mean, obviously, some football teams are doing it right. Some football teams aren't, and I think it's just that's the biggest thing that I think is going on, is that I think football, college football, it's appearing to work, but it doesn't feel like there's enough control and locking down of the teams when they're not on the field or practicing or weight training, that it's going to control the spread. Even though, again, should we be really worried about the spread? I don't know. That's a whole different conversation. But it seems that it's working. But I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I think again, not that my opinion matters in any of this, but
It matters
I
to
I
me.
think I would thank you. I was joking with I don't know if it was Hode or somebody, and I apologize if I came off a little trollish, but and I think it was Kyle Murphy on Twitter.
Right.
Like these guys are not keeping it together for like if you think that they're gonna take it seriously, and I mean I was a student and uh, definitely not. I wouldn't call myself friends with any of the athletes, but have running into them at many times in different places, in places
Mm-hmm.
where you think that they probably should not be at that time.
It's like, oh, you're
Um,
here.
it's not gonna. Yeah, it's not. Don't you have a game in like 4 hours? But anyway, it's not gonna. That's not. They're not gonna keep it together, guys. Like
Exactly. Exactly. So
they're literally 18-year-old kids. Some of them.
some of
Like
them, and then
they
even the
forget
ones that
that
are 20,
sometimes.
in some of the times, and they're able to get snuck in when they're underage, or if they're just the older guys and they're just hanging out and they
Yeah,
want to get a
17
drink and do
sometimes.
whatever
Like
else it is. Absolutely, they're going to be able to do that. So Yeah, and Paul Hornstein's mentioning it absolutely. But going to basketball, there's much there's a lot of money involved with the basketball tournament, where he's saying that football is more conference money. So, I
Yeah.
think that's why the NC2As kind of make me pushing for this a little bit differently. But it'll be interesting to see how that all goes down. But I agree with you. I mean, Memphis just proved it,
Well, an
right?
interesting thing is, and gosh, in one of my last weeks at working at ASU,
Okay.
President Emmert came and visited and
Okay.
talked with some of the student athletes, and I was fortunate enough to be in attendance for that. And he was talking about, and it's just funny that we had this conversation before this happened,
Okay.
but he was saying something absolutely ridiculous. But 95% of the NCAA's revenue, and it's above 90. I remember that. Don't quote me on the 95.
No, sure.
Comes from the NCAA basketball tournament.
Yep.
And so he was talking about, like, if the basketball tournament didn't happen, they'd be screwed. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it didn't happen.
It didn't
I know he
happen.
was explaining they have some insurance policy somewhere that gave them some absurd amount of money.
Mm.
But I don't know exactly how that works about renewing that for a second year. And but it was just very interesting listening to him in a very and there's no cameras on him. He was
Okay.
talking to student athletes, and just hear him talk about things that are going on in the NCAA, and just honestly, completely changed my opinion of that guy. Like, I know he's a politician and he can put it on and turn it off and
Right.
things like that, but he just explained a lot of things about how he doesn't necessarily have the power to do a lot of things. It's all the university presidents who vote on stuff, and
Hmm.
um, not to defend him, because I am one that believes that the NCAA is an interesting organization, to say the least. But
Yes.
it was really cool to hear him talk about a lot of that stuff, and then to see it unfold. And he had just talked about what would happen
Right.
if the NCAA tournament didn't happen. So just crazy stuff.
Exactly. No, that's very and it's interesting to see how much how much power the university presidents really have, and that's really what we're
Oh
going to be
yeah,
seeing a lot more of, right? That they're able to, but there's also similar to what the Big Ten was doing, right? The university presidents and the ADs have to be lockstep, because if they're not, then you're going to have people like Jim Harbaugh protesting, "I want to play," instead of actually not being necessarily in lockstep with his boss, which is the AD, and then actually ultimately the person who's overseeing everything, which is the president. So
the
that's always,
president.
yeah, exactly. So that's actually very interesting. And so was he there on campus? It wasn't a or was it a remote Zoom meeting that he gave that speech or
No, he came in. He
okay.
came in. It was really cool. He was, it was on campus at ASU, and it was actually in the athletic department. My co at the time was Heather Udowich. She was a
Hmm.
gymnast, so she actually got to, like, show him around campus and things like that. It was really
Wow.
cool. He did a site visit, and he just came and spent some time with some of the student athletes, and some of the 942 people got to go. And of course, I was there working, quote
Right.
unquote. But yeah, absolutely, really cool experience to hear him speak, and interesting to get that kind of background about how the NCAA works and things like that.
Absolutely. And so when you're working for the athletic department, who were you reporting to? Were you part of like the whole Doug Tamro group, or were you with someone else, or how did that work for
I
you?
worked in administration, so I reported directly to Bill Kennedy.
Okay.
So I had a lot of different hats. I think the biggest thing was I was whatever he needed me to do. But I also served like this weird role between being 942 leadership and being a actor of the athletic department. And on game day, it was mixed between, all right, operations of getting the student section ready,
Hmm.
and coordinating with our student section leaders and making sure giveaways are being handed out. So I played this really weird hybrid role between, like, still being a student and still being a part of that experience, and then
Right.
also working for the department. So it was extremely cool. And being in administration, I got to see how everything worked. I think that's
Right.
the one thing I look back on, and being a fly on the wall for a lot of interesting conversations, and
Okay.
um, even just stuff that just happens in the hallways every day that I would just be like, poking my head out looking at. um, but
And that's in so now because I know Paul Hornstein's out there. Any interesting conversations related to hockey? You hear
We
anything?
did a lot of cool things with the hockey team
Okay.
over the course of the year. Coach Powers was he is extremely in tune with the atmosphere in the arena. I
Okay.
will say that. So he put a lot of pressure on us to produce, and Oceanside provides its interesting battles, being in that rink dink thing. But I would honestly say if it wasn't for him like paying attention to it and encouraging the students that were involved,
Right.
we've been able to change the hockey culture to something more rowdy. I mean, there's nothing against this. If you want to go to the game, I have no problems with it. I will never tell you not to go to a game. But the hockey crowd used to be a lot of girls interested in the hockey team, and just a very like we're gonna get all dressed up and go to the hockey game, and then we were able to kind of turn it into something a little bit more college hockey. So I
Right.
think that was cool, and you're starting to see that transformation a little bit. And I mean, we were getting to the point where we were turning away 100 students every night because
Really?
only a small student section. We only got 114 student seats in there, and if we would do a giveaway, and 400 students would roll up, and it was just like, I
That's
know
so
that sounds
cool.
awesome, but it was also terrible at the same time because
Yeah.
now they don't want ever want to come back again. But it
Mm.
was the hockey tradition is definitely building,
Right.
especially with students. They're in tune with it. They know what's going on. It just we got to find a conference and get rolling, get that
Yeah.
arena built. So, but
Yeah. Hopefully
students will
that's.
be there. I can definitely. I have experienced it. I see. We have a lot of students that actually went to hockey games over basketball games. So
Oh, that's so cool.
it's getting there.
That is outstanding, especially with the last season that they had. They had a lot of good wins there because I think it
Right.
was who was it, Denver or U Denver or Denver U. I think that was one of the
Denver,
games.
yeah.
That was a big rowdy one as well.
Quin Quinnipiac, I don't think I'm saying it correctly,
Right. I
but
don't think so. I think.
the rematch between when we lost in the
Yep.
the tournament.
Paul will post a uh, phonetic pronunciation of Quinnipiac. I think, but we may both be wrong. But that's actually very
Is
exciting
he
to hear.
the Southwest Hockey or the account? Because I've definitely, if he
Yes.
is, I've tweeted him a few times off the 942
Exactly.
account.
Yep,
So
that's their his podcast and everything else. So yeah, it's absolutely it. So it was DU. So no, but that's actually exciting. And so then when you go over to and it's not it's at Muni is where baseball's at, right? So you would drive over there. Would you be able to get dressed over there if when you were dressed as Sparky or
Sparky?
yeah? I
Yes.
mean, they would be
Yes.
all.
There we have dressing rooms
Did you ever
in
drive?
every area.
Did you ever drive in the
In the
suit?
suit, I did one time, and it's actually really funny. My biggest Sparky gripe and my biggest pet peeve is okay. So when you apply to have Sparky come to an event,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna give you a little secret here. When you apply to have Sparky come to an event, not anything like athletics related, because we
It's like a
we we know where all
wedding.
that stuff goes.
It's like a wedding or
But
something else.
yeah, a wedding, a corporate event, a birthday party. I've done all sorts of that stuff. But you have one specific rule that I remember that they asked on there. Does Sparky have a place to change that's out of people's sight?
Of course.
Some
Right.
of us are more serious about it than others, about being like, for example, when I was Sparky, if someone watched me walk in, and this I know this is going to be ridiculous. I'm very passionate about this subject. So, but if someone watched me walk into a changing room with a bag, I would not leave with a bag because I didn't
Ah,
I was that serious about it. There was times where that wasn't possible,
okay.
um, and that's what made it like frustrating at times.
Mhm.
But my biggest gripe was when they'd be like, "Yeah, we have a changing room," and then you'd roll up to some little league park somewhere and you're changing in the bathroom of what all the other people are.
Yeah.
So the one time I actually just picked up my stuff and drove home in the Sparky suit was
Okay.
at a little league first pitch. I just drove with the head on out of the parking lot, and then as soon as I got out of the parking lot, I took my head off. But it was really awkward because I was living in a house at the time.
Okay.
So when I got home, I had to like run across the yard into my house like in full Sparky suit. Um,
Because you don't
but
want
yeah, that's the
everyone
only
knowing
time
that's
I
where
ever
Sparky
like
lives.
drove somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
go in there and steal that thing. That thing is like $5,000.
and it's like who's organizing that? I mean, who coordinates that? Obviously, it's who at ASU coordinates that because I wouldn't even know who to call for that.
We have a Sparky coordinator. His name's Tony Grand Leonard now. He tweeted me and told me not to give away all the secrets, but sorry, Tony, I'm no longer on the payroll,
Ah,
so they're all coming out. No, but there's like a whole forum online if you want to have Sparky
okay.
come to your stuff. There is a fee, and that's how we pay for a lot of the things. Like I know they're doing a lot better now about compensating the Sparkies for their work. I know when I
Oh, right on.
started, um, being paid was not really a thing,
Okay.
but now they get stipends, things like that, which
Oh,
is
good.
really really cool and helps build the program. You know what I mean?
See, I
So
could only imagine. I would hope you like would at least get mileage, right? Because if you're driving from Tempe to
you
say,
would,
okay,
you
good,
would.
yeah. Because I mean, at least this way you're getting something. Shout out to Justin for ASU. Justin Prestigard just joined. I think he has the distance award. He is joining us from Florida. So thanks again for joining. And Paul just said it's Quinnipiac. So Quinnipiac. So
Quinnipiac.
yeah, so not Quinnipi, Quinnipi. So we have to separate the P and the EE. So that's a bit. So now, did you ever have to make an appearance as Sparky outside of Phoenix? Not at a game, but like let's say
So
at a function that wasn't in the Phoenix area, excluding like Quinn Creek, like Tucson or Flag or someplace else. Has
no,
that ever
I want to
happened?
say no, I haven't.
Have you heard of that happen?
Nothing not connected to
Okay,
any game.
got it.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on a huge delay right now between us. Like my screen's all funky,
Yeah, I know.
but
I'm hoping that hopefully it's that's why I keep looking up actually because I'm monitoring my computer here. So hopefully it's not too awful from a
I think
connection
it's
either.
actually my internet
Okay.
connection. Here, hold up. I'm gonna connect to the better Wi-Fi.
Sure. Sure. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you disconnect for a quick moment and I'll go ahead and
Am I
just
back? I
you're
think I'm
back?
back.
Oh, look at
Okay.
that. Cool. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
even
quick.
I didn't even get look at that. I didn't even have to transition to another slide. That's brilliant.
Okay, but what I was saying is I haven't nothing not connected to a game. Like I did like college, like I did like the Pac-12 women's basketball tournament and
Okay.
things like that, and a couple football games on the road, but never something away from a game. I know that somebody my first year
Mhm.
or my second year at Sparky maybe was got invited to do a commercial in
Okay.
Nashville for the Country Music Awards.
Oh, right
So
on.
there is like that weird stuff that comes up, and
They
he
fly
actually got
you out.
paid for that, so
That's
that was really
cool.
cool.
Well, I mean,
Um,
they fly you out, they put you in a hotel, they do all that.
yeah,
I mean, that's the gig. That's what you want to be doing.
yeah,
So
it
now
was it was cool.
getting into that, right? Getting into so you said that you did 2 years or 3 years as 942 crew doing social media, and then you did only 1 year as Sparky, is that right?
I did 2.5. I did two
Oh,
full
good.
football years,
Okay.
two full football years, and then I actually started in the spring before. So I did a spring,
Ah,
and then I did 2 full years.
got it. How did you get into that? Like, because I mean,
Dude,
you hear the stories, right? Some are gymnasts and some are athletes and some. I remember someone DMing me that one of the Sparkies was like a former NFL player or something like
oh
that.
yeah, I can't expose him,
No, 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 no,
but when
don't.
the story comes out, you guys are gonna be so jacked. Anyway,
So I mean, I saw that and I was like, and I was like, she again the person, and it was a woman that DM'd me, and I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know who it
yeah,
is. Don't tell me anything else. But she's like, yeah. So Sparky,
it's a pretty dang cool story.
is
But
it? I'm excited.
I'll let him
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah. So
his own
I
moment.
can't wait for that to come out. Hopefully it's coming out soon. But that's what I had heard. But like, what got you? What was? How'd you get started on this journey of donning the uniform? What did you?
It,
What did you? Who Like who selected you, and what did you have to do?
it's actually a really funny, not as cool story as you think.
Well,
I'll just start off by saying
make
that
it cool for the show.
when I was a kid,
Okay.
I always joked that I wanted to be Sparky.
All
Like, I
right.
mean, I feel like there's a lot of kids that do that. Like, I want to be Sparky. I'm
Okay.
going to be Sparky when I grow up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was Sparky for Halloween, like that whole thing.
Right.
Um, I was obviously around like athletics a lot. I was in 942, and then I knew a friend on the Sparky team that I went to high school with,
Hmm.
and it was the middle of the year, and just so April is our most it's our craziest time, like February to April, because
Okay.
that's when we got basketball, baseball, softball, all these other sports.
Gotcha.
So a couple guys had just quit the team, and he reached out to me and asked me if I could fill in for a couple events. And I was like, are you serious, dude? Like, you want me to be Sparky? And he's like, yeah, like you be fine, you be good at it. And you know what? I literally just did a couple events, and I was like, "Yo, I kind of like
That
this.
was
It's
it.
kind of it's fun." So I just stuck on it. Like I was like, I never tried out. There are Sparky tryouts. I never tried out.
Okay.
I just got really lucky that some guys quit, and I knew someone on the team, and he was like, "Hey, you'd be good at that, so let's go." And then I was
Okay.
like, "Okay," and I did it.
Right on. And so then leading up to that, right? So that was you did in the spring. So like you were doing, did you do any basketball or was it mostly
No,
baseball?
that at that point I just did baseball and
Okay.
I did some softball. I think I did like 15 softball games that year,
Okay.
something ridiculous. But
And you were going out. So now, did you have to do all the push-ups and everything else for those spring games?
I enjoyed doing the push-ups at non-football events. So, for example, but I did it in a different way. So, for example, like at softball, like I would pull like kids down onto the concourse with me, and then we
Okay.
would do them together.
Right.
I did that at wrestling a lot. I used it more as an opportunity to engage the fans instead of like a big production. Like, hey, let's just get like there's this 5-year-old who keeps asking me to do push-ups, so come do push-ups with me, and
Right.
he'll remember that moment for the rest of his life
Of
and
course.
things like that. So that's how I kind of tried to approach some of those events, is
Okay.
just random kids, and that's all Sparky was. It's just dealing with kids. And then on football it's different though, because
Okay.
you're a part of the machine, you're a part of the production.
Absolutely.
But at baseball, softball, you're literally there just to be a walking attraction for the kids and things like that.
Got it. Okay. So then that's all it. And so it's what was your off-season regimen like preparing for football? Because I mean, were
It's a good question.
were we scoring a lot when you were Sparky?
I did the Kalen Blodge game.
Okay.
Um,
That
I
was you then. Okay.
I was the second quarter Sparky.
Ah,
So
look at that. Okay.
um,
So you
but
would so it's not someone for the entire game.
depends on
Okay.
the game, depends on who's going on. So I won't give away all the secrets
Of
from
course, you don't have to.
but that game I did not do the whole game. But yeah, I did the push-ups. As for the off season, as I started to get to go into the program,
Right.
there was a lot of people that came before me that were trying to make the program a little bit more serious than it had been.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when I joined, I mean, as you can see, they just basically handed me the suit and said, "Go." And so by the time I had gone, and I will not take credit for this, although I did participate in it. There's a lot of guys that came before me that helped make a handbook and helped make a branding guide,
Okay.
and everything from the signature to the walk to the way that Sparky is, his mannerisms, everything like that was now documented.
Interesting.
So,
Cool.
and then that also involves the creation of practices. So now Sparky has practice. I know a lot of people talk smack about Sparky's push-ups at times. Don't believe me. We saw those. We do see those. And honestly, um, I'm fortunate to say that I never got a tweet during one of my push-ups. Although I'm not saying that they could have been better, but there's a lot of things going on now with the Sparky program to make it, I guess, a better product for
Wonderful.
fans and for everybody else.
Well, it's infinitely better than the duck because the duck doesn't have to do anything because it's just like
No,
it's just like a 2-inch bend. It's
yeah,
nothing, right? Where
I
you
have
have,
met the duck. I have met the duck.
I
One
mean,
of the things is
you met the
uh,
duck, meaning you met the person in or both.
both.
Okay, cool.
So one of the great things about being a mascot is we have a big chat with all the mascots around the whole country.
Okay.
We call it the fraternity. The fraternity. Although didn't have any fur, obviously,
Right.
but I was an honorary member of the fraternity.
Okay.
But when it's a thing to put, and I'm not allowed to share these pictures.
No,
but
please, no,
it's a thing
not at
to
all.
put on the head of somebody else in your own suit. So, for example, I have some fun of me and the duck head and
Oh,
the
that's funny.
Sparky body. But we would switch heads. A couple of the guys have even switched like entire bodies for like events. Like when they go, if you watch I will give you this secret. If you watch the Pac-12 football game, they all go
Yeah.
and they switch. So you'll see Sparky in the swoop and swoop in.
Oh, interesting.
And so, and it's cool though because um, we all talk about like what our character is supposed to be.
Okay.
So like it's not like you can just go in there and be Sparky in somebody else's
Right,
outfit.
right.
Sparky has his own character.
They have a
So
persona.
it's fun to be somebody else instead of being Sparky. But
And it's just being able to go in there and sing, and it must be amazing. Like you said, all of Sparky's persona and the mannerisms and everything else is documented. So I'm sure, like everyone else, like Oski has that arms
oh yeah,
behind the back and that
behind the
very
back.
animated walk, and so it's just very interesting to be able to see all of the others. Like, who is it? The Beaver. What's his name?
Benny.
Benny. So what's his move? What's his move?
Benny is like a very head bobby kind of thing. He
Okay,
bobs his
got it.
head a lot. He has a tail that kind of goes up and down.
Got
The
it.
one that's the most fun, in my opinion, is Butch, the cougar. He is wild. Like I honestly could not be that mascot because he literally like will sprint in and just like slide across the floor or
Wow.
like like I honestly don't know how that dude doesn't like have broken limbs all the time. But then they get out and it's just like some normal dude, and it's like it's it is
Someone's
funny being in those ginormous mascot changing rooms where it's just like 20 of us in there all with our heads off. Just
And I was gonna say, with the USC mascot, it's always the Trojan, so it's just that dude dressed up as
they
a.
have a cartoon mascot actually.
Oh, I think I remember that.
His
Okay,
name is Tommy,
okay.
and he is the lamest one by far.
Well, it's just some dude with a
The
big happy
creepiest
face.
one though is the tree because the tree will talk. The tree talks.
Well, the
Like
one,
so you can have a conversation with the tree,
yeah.
and it's freaky because you can't see the person's face and they're just like talking to you, and you're like, no, I'm good, dude.
Well, it's always, and this is the other thing. One, I think I just heard this, and I don't know if Nam told me this or someone else did, but one, it's always a senior,
Yes.
and two, they design the costume.
Yes.
It's always different in a way, right? So I mean, every time you see it, we don't play them all the time, but I mean, every time you
Right.
see it, it's different,
And
right?
actually, what's cool about it is, and again, what is cool, and I think every mascots have their own traditions, things like that. But
Right.
um, they're actually a part of the band, so it's a band member usually, and then they have like this whole thing called Tree Week, where
Hmm.
basically like they have like this week long competition to become the tree. So like you have to like sleep
Oh,
outside, and you have to like do all these. I mean, honestly, low key, it's probably hazing if we're being
I was gonna
honest.
say
But
they virtually haze you.
yeah, so but it's like they have like this like competition instead of like a true tryout,
Okay.
and then you're right, they make their own tree and things
It's
like that.
almost as if you got to put your hand on the car, and who the last person that has
Yeah,
their hand on
it's
the car.
exactly what it is. And people talk like I've heard like them talk about just like at the end of the week they just don't know why they did it. It wasn't worth it, and then they get to be the tree.
Then
And
they
then
get to be the tree. Well, Will Jasper mentioned something in the chat. He says back in the '90s, the department got the men's gymnastics to wear the costume while the project was being rebuilt. Did you hear any of that?
if he's talking about Sparky, I wouldn't be surprised. And like I said, the program's had its ups and downs.
Okay.
I think one thing that really and one thing that I'm hoping to work on is because it bothers me is we don't have any sort of either alumni association or connection back to the program. So, for example,
As Sparky alums?
yes.
Oh, interesting.
So when we went, I went to Michigan State this year,
Okay.
and it was their alumni weekend, and they brought all of the old Sparties down on the field,
Oh, wow.
and so they were all doing like the Sparty walk, and it was a cool experience, and I'm sure those guys give money back to the program and
Of
things like
course.
that, but it was just cool that they have like that, you know, that little bit of a brotherhood of being like, hey, we all
Oh,
did this
absolutely.
one cool thing, and we don't have that here, and I think it really not only hurts our program, but could provide support for our athletic teams and just a different way to reach out. So that's one thing that I hope to work on is to connect people that um, did it in the past and
Oh,
things like
absolutely. I think that would be brilliant, especially coordinating it with that one gentleman that played in the NFL that coordinating it like hopefully it's a Sun Devil story or whatever it comes out,
that. Yeah,
right? Then you're able to kind of have everyone around him, because I think there was another Sun Devil story. Was it the original Sparky? The
the
old,
original. It was
yeah,
the original, or the one guy that used to jump off the goalposts or
which
whatever
was
his name was.
absolute lunacy. I'm like,
Yeah,
in his one hand and all this other
yeah,
crazy. I'm like, dude. But yeah, but I mean, that's a brilliant story as well. So I think that's a fantastic idea. I think people would love to see what they're doing and everything. It's just like you. It's like, yep, this is what we did, and it's like you said, a fraternity of sorts. And then the other one we'll mention, did Sparky have a different signature depending on who was in the suit, like back in the
He was
90s and
not
2000?
supposed to. Sparky,
Right.
like I said, Sparky's brand, his everything about him is documented now.
Okay.
So his Sparky signature should be the same. For example, Sparky should never sign in any other color than black. Things like it gets that serious.
I bet.
Sparky's not allowed to touch the color red, things like that. So
God love it. See, that's actually brilliant, though, that it's almost, again, very Disney-like. He is
right,
originally a Disney character, right? So, I mean, being able to document it that way, like they are, it's the same exact thing, the Padawans. Padawan 1 and 2 are very focused on being part of the Disney college program. So they're always researching as being a character, what you can and can't do, and what you are supposed to do, how you're supposed to act, what you can't. So, I mean, that's actually, before we go to the break, because I want to give everyone a break because it's top of the hour, what is the most unusual rule for being Sparky, other than not touching red? Is there one rule that is just, okay, it makes sense, but it's just kind of unusual? If you can share it. If you can't, then that's okay. I understand. I'm not trying to
no,
press you.
honestly, none of them really stick out to me right now, other than the fact that like, and I know I've given bits and pieces of his character, and so there's some things I won't share
Of
and like
course.
things like that. But like nothing really sticks out to me when it comes to like.
Okay.
I mean, he can't touch red. Sparky's not supposed to say no, so that's difficult at times.
Are you allowed to
That's why he
talk?
cannot. Sparky cannot talk.
He can't talk. Right.
Sparky cannot talk. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just. I think the biggest thing is just you're not yourself anymore. You're Sparky, and I think that's
Right.
what's like hard for a lot of people to. And I've seen different people try out and get in the suit, and they just can't fully get out of that. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like, but the weird thing is when you have been Sparky and you have been Sparky for so long, sometimes taking off the suit, it's kind of hard to like go back into your normal mannerisms, and because when you're a mascot, everything is
Right.
so big and enlarged.
Of course.
So
You're very animated.
you got to turn that back down and be like, all right, I'm just a normal person with my hat down walking out of the game.
That's now. Did you just revealed you were Sparky right when you graduated,
Correct.
right? That was it. And is that another one of the things where you can't tell people you are,
Yes. I
other
mean,
than
again,
family, of course? But
some schools are way more serious than others, and honestly, I
interesting.
wish we were a little bit more serious about it here.
Okay.
But that's just again my own personal opinion.
What do you
Uh,
mean that like some other schools say, okay, if you're the duck, you can't even tell family?
well, there. I mean, yes. Like for
Wow.
example, but there. I'm just talking about just for example, some of the SEC schools, like the Mike the Tiger, like
Mm-hmm.
he's never allowed to carry his own bag. He walks with a group of like 9 people when he's not in the suit, so you can't tell who he is.
Okay.
Dedicated changing rooms that no one can come in within like 50 feet of, like super serious rules like that.
Wow.
And now here at ASU, like we don't have that kind of thing, and I get it, and I get some of that's like built from the beginning of time of like when they first created this mascot, and
Right.
Sparky has evolved and changed over the years. But no, I mean, I didn't tell. Like it was weird because I had been doing it for so long, and a lot of the people that I was friends with and around
Okay.
were going to games, and obviously they knew when I was Sparky, and because they could pick up on, oh, he's not working, so he's Sparky.
Gotcha.
But it was weird when I posted about it, like seeing a lot of people being like, no way. It was just hard because I had kept that like a part of me for so long that I didn't share,
Right.
that I forgot that people didn't know.
Right.
So that was cool to kind of see that afterwards.
That is very cool. No, but we are, and I am grateful you're able to share some of this, right? Because I know there's a lot of little mysteries and stories, and especially nuances that I know a lot of people are excited to hear. So that's what we're going to jump into in this next portion of the interview. But we're going to take a quick break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a slide. So if you want to go hit a bio break or anything else, we're going to come back at about 8:20. So I'm gonna transition over. You won't have to be on the. You won't have to talk or do anything. But if you need to step away, go ahead. Everyone else, thanks again for joining. Really appreciate you spending some time with us on Friday afternoon. As always, of course, we're gonna go ahead and take a break for about another 10, 12 minutes to 8:20. We will resume at 8:20, 20 after the hour. So make sure you go refill yourself a drink, get yourself some water, do a bio break or whatever else you need. I'm going to go ahead and leave the pre-show pre-show slide on. The stream is still going. I'm going to get some wine. As always, if you have questions for Joey or myself, please post them into the chat. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Ring that bell so you know when I go live. But go ahead, in 12 minutes. We will come back at 8:20, so enjoy the break, and we will talk shortly. Welcome back, everyone. Just back a few seconds early. We're back into the 42 Social Club. Again, happy Friday. It is Friday, September 11th. Hopefully, you are refueled. I have topped off my wine glass. That's right. Oh, look at this. Let's go switch over to my man, Joey. What are you drinking? Show your glass again.
I got some cognac.
Oh,
Decided,
dear.
decided to, I guess, kick it up a little bit of notch, even though I got to work at 7 in the morning.
Look at you. Well, I love it then. So it is the Sun Devil way.
It is the Sun Devil way.
But we're back into this. So I'm going to go ahead, as always, ask you a few questions from the two games. One, if you had to, and two, I wish I didn't know that. First question from if you had to. If you had to, A, there are swarms of spiders living in your house, or B, find a real unicorn by accidentally running over it with your SUV.
Oh,
Which one?
absolutely, B. That's not even close.
Not even no spider, not a fan of spiders.
No spiders, and like at least I found it. Like at least I proved it was real. It's probably not the only one. So,
We can only hope.
absolutely.
We can only hope. This one we actually did pregame, and so this one's actually interesting. In Iran, 14 of these were arrested on suspicion of espionage. One of these four answers is true. A, squirrels, B, toddlers, C, tourists from Iceland, or D, circus clowns. In Iran, 14 of these were arrested on suspicion
I'm
of
gonna go
espionage.
squirrels.
That's true. It says
Yes.
squirrels. I'm like, all right. I understand. Well done. I don't know how they proved it, but I guess the attorney fee wasn't that much. All right,
Nope.
one more. Men and women voted this sex position as their favorite. A, A, missionary, B, 69, C, her on top, or D, doggy. Which one of those four was voted across men and women, not just one, both, voted this sex position as their favorite?
I'm gonna go with C.
D, doggy.
Oh,
Yeah, because
I wish I didn't know.
Snoop Dogg called that ball.
I wish I didn't know.
One more question before we get into the stories, but I mentioned this question to you right before we came back from the commercials. So the question that Rob Lowe asked David Spade, and if you get a chance to listen to Rob Lowe's podcast, literally, David Spade's answer is brilliant. But here's your question. If you had to see one of these three things, what would it be and why? A UFO, a ghost, or Bigfoot?
UFO.
Okay.
I have an irrational. I think I did. I think I'm getting over it. I'll
Okay.
I'll give myself a little pat on the back. I had an irrational fear of aliens for a majority of my life.
Okay.
So I feel like seeing it would kind of like push me past that. Be like,
Okay.
okay, they're here. Let's just get over it.
Yeah,
And,
let's get on with it.
yeah.
See, I was with you. I had an irrational fear of aliens ever since I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And so I was very young when that movie came out. And so it kind of, I love watching it up until the end. And then I don't watch the end. And it's just because it bugs me out. So, have you ever seen a ghost?
No.
Okay. That's okay.
I don't
Neither
know
have
if
I.
I believe in ghosts, but
Oh, okay.
so I guess that means I didn't see them.
All right. Got it. Because the only thing that I can think of that was paranormal is that I must have been 5 or 6 years old, and I had this LED baseball game from Radio Shack, and it would every time you turned it on, it did a little "Take me out to the ball game," dun, 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 dun. And it was in the middle of the night, and it turned on, and it turned on, and so
Yeah.
that's the only time it's done it. It never happened before. It never happened since. And so I was like,
I will say one time, I guess now that we're on this path,
sure.
um, have you heard of like I think it's sleep paralysis is the
Oh yeah, the
where like
Padawans. The Padawans have encountered that.
okay, so
But
where
go
you
ahead.
like wake up and you can't move?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what yeah.
Yep.
So I did have that one time where I felt like somebody was like strangling me.
Okay.
And I remember this specifically in high school. So
Okay.
I guess if you would count that, even though I guess there's a quote unquote scientific explanation
Right.
for it, scientific explanation
Yeah.
for it.
But you actually had a physical manifestation of it. You didn't see like something out of the corner of your eye or
No,
something.
no, I woke up and I felt like somebody was like pressing down and I was trying
Right.
to scream.
Yep.
And then I woke up and didn't
And
sleep
then
for
it
like
was
4
gone.
days. But
Yeah, I know how that is. I mean, let's see. I think it was my cousins. So I have a whole branch of family from Douglas. And so we would go visit them when I was young. And this one group of cousins were just absolutely fixated on horror movies. So every time we'd go over there, we'd be visiting them for, you know, a couple days, and they would just fire up some horror movie, and like you said, I wouldn't sleep for days.
yep,
So, and I
not
still
me,
can't.
not me.
I still avoid them. I mean,
I
it's like,
freaked out over the Quiet Place or whatever that movie was. Just
did
not
you
me.
see? Yeah, see, that's the other. Well, I mean, the other one, and even then, the one that unsettled me was Signs, and that's a little bit more recent, but Signs by M Night Shyamalan. That was another alien movie. That was an invasion one, but yeah, we talked. Namle and I talked about that where we were talking about alien invasions and all that other stuff. But I'm eventually we will get to hear someone's ghost story on this show eventually. But as we were talking about before the break, back to a little bit more different lighthearted stories. So now let's talk about, your time in the suit. And so I did have there's a number of questions. Obviously, Padawan3 wants me to make sure that I credit her with her question, which is going to be later. But you tweeted that the suit stinks.
It does.
And so how many suits are there? Can you divulge?
I will not divulge that
Okay.
information.
Okay.
I will just I will say that there are more than one.
Okay.
And they do not smell very good. Honestly, like it's this is so gross, but like you would get used to it. So for example, if somebody else were to smell the suit,
Right.
they'd be like, "This is absolutely horrifying." Or when I'd come home after an event, they'd be like, "You smell like the
You
worst
still
thing on
smell like
earth."
it.
Oh, absolutely, I would smell like it until I showered. Like it would stick to me, and
Yeah.
it's nasty. But just I
But I
can
mean,
still smell it to this day. Like
it's not like, I mean, the head is shaped in a particular way, so I'd imagine it'd be a little bit more difficult to wash. But then, isn't the body part rather flexible? So couldn't you just like at
yeah,
least steam
that's
clean it
not
or
the
something?
hard. It's not. Yeah, that's not the part that stunk.
Okay,
Um,
it
uh,
was.
if you washed it, uh,
Ah.
not everybody washes it every time. And I will say, I think that, I think somebody asked me at some point, but like, what's the grossest thing you've ever had to do? But there was a couple times where I actually did have to wear it the day after I had forgotten to wash it,
Oh,
and I like want to like crawl in my hole and die thinking about it, but it was just nasty because it's all crusty and it just doesn't smell good, and it's just a horrible experience. Um, or doing multiple events in one day, you have to put it back on, and
oh
um,
gosh.
just there was a lot of fantastic things that came with being Sparky, and
Right.
that is a definitely not one of them.
And that was just because, again, that's the uniform, and like you said, and so being able to take care of it. So too bad, like Jared Neely couldn't hook you guys up because he's washing all the football uniforms, right? So too bad he couldn't like hook you guys up with one of his washing machines and help you
Yeah, I
guys
mean,
out with that,
it wasn't as hard as you would think. Like I'd say, it's actually pretty easy to wash it, but it would
right?
just be like getting home from a football game at 1 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
then you have a birthday party at 7. Like it's
Oh, I
just
see what you're saying.
like that, and then you're just like, okay, do I wash it for 2 hours and then have to stay up, or do I just
Yeah, God forbid you
do it?
wash it and it's damp. Oh God, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
so you just kind of tough it out, or like you said, you have 2 events in one day, and you can't.
hmm Because it's already there and you got to take care of it, and that's actually very curious. So now there was actually Padawan 3 had this one, and again that we had a couple of these. So is it just the smell, or what is the most gross thing that happened to you while wearing the suit?
I think yeah, it had to do with me not washing it.
Okay.
That's just gross. Like I said, you're like crusty. Um, if you're talking about just like pure grossness, the worst thing that's ever happened to me in a suit was I was at a wedding,
Okay.
and there was an older woman who was had a little bit too much to drink that night,
Okay.
and teetering on the verge of sexual assault, and yeah, like
Just
trying to get me to like take inappropriate pictures with her,
uh and I
and
can't
like
do
I
that.
can't. and I can't do anything
You
about
can't
it
do
because
that.
at this point, like I can't. I mean, I'm crossing my lines and saying
Of
like, no,
course.
okay, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
doing
yeah.
that. Like, but it's just getting to the point where she's like grabbing me, and it was horrible. That it's like I remember, I think I ended up like just telling the guy like, hey, I'm out. Like I was like completely out of, I couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
Like, and I get it. It was like some random woman. I don't want to ruin their wedding
Of
over like
course.
my, not they ruin their wedding, but ruin my piece of their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I was like, I'm completely out of character at this point. Like I'm
Right.
uncomfortable. I'm frustrated. Like I can't do this anymore. And they understood. But yeah, that was the worst thing that's ever happened to me as Sparky.
That's why. And so, I mean, it was, did you have that conversation? Like, were you able to talk or did you have to pull them aside? Or, I mean, how did that conversation
So
go down?
you're allowed to talk to, well, you'll have a contact. So for
Okay.
example, if I don't have a handler, I'll have a contact. So
Okay.
um, I there's one person who I'm designated to talk to. So for example, I can't talk to them in front of everybody else, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
just be like, "Hey, come over here," and then I'll take my head
Right.
off and talk to them and
Good.
like that. So, um, but that's why it's important, and they're doing a lot better about making sure that when Sparky goes to those kind of events, that he has a handler who's also Sparky, who kind of shows him around and makes
Right.
sure no one does anything dumb, and is his no person. So
No, got it. And you can speak up and see that's the other thing too, because that must be real difficult when you're kind of like managing the whole thing, right? You're trying to make it memorable, but you're being fondled, right? And
mm,
you're uncomfortable and you don't want to do all this other stuff, right? So that's the other thing too. It's like when I was a bouncer, I had to dress up as a shark. And so, you know, there was some I don't want to say molestation, but there was some touching that wasn't as bad as others. But then it's
right,
just sometimes, like you said, after a while, you're like, okay, I got to get out of here. I just
yeah,
can't
I'm
do
not doing
this.
this.
Yeah. So exactly. So now the other thing was is that this was actually very Padawan 3 was actually very curious about this because she lit up. What was the most horrifying thing you witnessed while dressed as Sparky, but you couldn't do anything?
Um,
And if there's multiple, that's fine. I just wasn't sure if there was like
I
something that
just think
happened.
like the only thing I can think of, and I think maybe I'm thankful that I haven't had this experience.
Okay.
Um, just a lot of people that I feel like at games were a little bit too drunk or who have fallen down or
Mm,
um, fell face down on the concrete. Just things that you see when your whole job at a football game is to go visit a bunch of people, and then you
yeah.
realize like the characters that are in that stadium that day. Um,
Yeah.
very fortunate where, and I'm sorry, Padawan, that I don't have a better answer for you here, but
I'll
I
just
think I'm very fortunate that I didn't have to experience anything crazy where I couldn't help anybody or things like that.
see that's actually interesting too because I mean I'm sure it's just always it always seems that it's actually something related to someone being drunk. It
Yeah,
almost feels like that's the way it is, especially at a football game. I don't know if it's not necessarily, at some of the other sporting events. Not saying that
but
people don't get
definitely football.
yeah, I'm not saying that people don't get
Sometimes
thrashed.
basketball. Sometimes
I mean, some
basketball.
people, I guess, people getting thrashed at a basketball game or at a baseball game are a little bit different from those that are,
Football.
yeah, at a football game. So, which away games, which non-conference away games did you get to go to?
Yeah, as Sparky,
Yes,
um, I don't think I did any non-con away football games.
interesting. So it was all
Um, Sparky, for away games, I did Oregon, the
okay.
year where Brandon Ayuk scored the touchdown, and or then they called it back,
Yep.
or they didn't. I was literally inches away from him
Was
as
that
he
the
caught.
2 point conversion one?
Yeah, I was standing. It was in that corner. I was literally, I'm not kidding, maybe 10 feet away from it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like behind the ref, and so that was I did Sparky for that game.
Okay, so
Um,
I think I have a picture of him catching the ball. So when I see you on there, I'm going to
yeah,
send you a
you'll
screen
have to
grab of
look.
it.
That's absolutely me. Um, I think actually I shared that game with someone, so I can't remember if I was in the suit or if I was on the field, but I
Okay,
remember like being there.
right.
Um,
You witnessed that it was a completion, and he
it
was
was
in.
absolutely a completion,
Of
and I will
course.
stand by that forever. I did USC
Hmm.
the year that we won this last time that we were there.
Oh,
So
the Nikhil Harry flipping the
yep.
field. Yep,
So I was
absolutely.
at that one. I think
As
those were the only
Sparky.
two as Sparky.
Okay, got it.
And then my last game was the U of A blew a 40-19 lead in
Uh,
So I got to do that, and I got to do that game, and it was a absolutely incredible just experience to be on the field for that game, to be a Sparky in Tucson. It was just hard to grasp. Like I remember at the time I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like excuse my language, but I was like,
You can
this
fucking
is
swear on
wild."
this show.
Okay, well it was wild. Like I could feel like the hatred like coming out of people. Like I mean, you could like I got some things said to me like
Of
when I
course.
was Sparky, but like there it was different. Like people would. I mean, we've been to these games. We know how it goes, but
Has
like
anyone
just
thrown something at you?
yes,
Okay.
I've had things thrown at me. Nothing that's hit me, but
Interesting.
like I think I had one water bottle thrown at me, and then like a couple of like people will roll up their hot dog things and throw them at me.
Mm,
But honestly, nothing at Oregon. It was
okay.
USC was pretty bad, and obviously U of A was U of A. But
That must, I mean, that whole fourth quarter was just, I don't want to say life changing, but it was just so different that
it
entire
was
fourth quarter.
crazy, and then just being on the field for that, and obviously being a very small part of the game for that.
Right.
Um, because again, like I mean, I had, you know, after the game, as soon as we missed it, like there's like a video of me being like tackled by all these fans, and I'm like trying to keep my head on because they're pulling me into the
Yeah, yeah,
stands, and I'm
yeah.
like keeping my head on. It was, but just an unreal. And then to have that as your last game as a
Right.
mascot was just like when I got back to the locker room and I took it off, and I knew it wasn't the last time I was taking it off, but it was like last football game, so
Right.
it was like, oh yeah, that was. I don't know. I still had an option to come back for the next year, and I was
Oh,
like,
did
no.
you? Okay. It was enough as 2 years, 2.5 years was enough.
Yeah, and I was like I said, I was working in the department now, so I was taking on a little bit of a different role,
Okay.
trying to, I thought I wanted to work in sports, so
Okay.
I was like, okay, maybe this is my, I'll put on the college shirt instead of the football jersey kind of
Right.
thing. But incredible ending to the Sparky
It's
career.
still just wild to be able to just watch it and, like you said, watching the replay, because I was actually in Tucson. Oh, was I in Tucson for that? I can't remember. Yes, I was in Tucson for that. I was actually there for Thanksgiving. I was actually my parents' tailgate, and so we were there. Is Paige Denny was there and everything else, and so we were there tailgating. And my parents decided to pack up probably at the end of the first quarter. So we never made it into the stadium. But then we went home, and it was a second half was just it was just a disaster all the way in. And then by the time we got back, we all had hit it pretty hard. So Paige was kind of just sleeping through the third quarter, and I was kind of in and out. And then the fourth quarter just started, and it was just so surreal to see it, just see them fight back. I mean, obviously, I mean, I crapped my pants when was it Ashari got that interception,
That's it. Yeah, it
right?
was.
And it's just, I mean, it's just how crazy just they just fell apart
Yeah,
so perfectly with a fumble, and then it was an interception, then a fumble, and it's just,
interception, then the fumble on
and
the
then we're
first play
just able
back.
to
Yeah.
it's just it was a, now were you in that end zone when the scoring happened, or were you anywhere near them?
No, I was on the other side. I was on
Okay.
the side of the field goal miss though. So
Oh, got it.
I was actually when I was watching, I specifically remember like being lined up with the goal line. I wasn't lined up with the field goal post, but I was lined up with the front of the goal line.
Okay.
And I saw the ball like fly through the air. And I remember like watching it. It was like a slow motion, like the whole world was like stopped watching the ball. And I
Oh
remember
man.
watching the ball, and then I never saw it like
So yeah.
go on the other side of the goalpost. And it was like shock. I looked down, the guy was saying incomplete. Like the cheerleaders are tackling me, and I'm next thing you know, I'm in the stands, and yeah, it was amazing.
That is, yeah, because I remember throwing out my bong meme. I was like, speak it into existence, speak it
Yeah,
into existence, and it just freaking happened so beautifully. So it was like, yeah, and we still have it. Now it's 2 years in a row. We didn't even have to play a
yeah,
second game to keep it again. So have you ever held the Territorial Cup?
I did.
Okay.
So I got to do well as Sparky. Um, as Sparky, I got to hold the Territorial Cup once.
Okay.
So I got to. Sorry, I got distracted for a second.
It's all good.
I got to hold the Territorial Cup once as Sparky. Basically, my last game, U of A game at Sun Devil Stadium, was the 3 years ago when we won in uh, in Tempe,
Right.
and it was I got to do the fourth quarter. That I got to do the end of the game that game.
Okay.
And I'll specifically remember after the game, I was walking on our sideline. I don't remember who it was. It was a D lineman, like grabbed me after the game and like he like it's like Sparky. He was like talking. It was Sparky. It was like super weird. Like don't get me wrong. I was like, why am I? And he's like, we're gonna do it, Sparky. We're gonna do it. And he was like crying, and it was like I felt it
That's cool.
like I felt because it was like a minute left. The clock was running down,
Right.
and then that I ran out, and they gave me the cup for a quick second, and they took it
Oh,
back
that's
from me.
right, right, right.
But I mean, I actually in my job, I actually had to do a lot of handling of the cup here, there, and
Okay.
um, taking it to different games, and like whenever we did anything with students with the cup or brought it on
Hmm.
campus. So I've had my fair share of time spent with that trophy, and it was always cool. I think one time we even had it in our office for a little bit.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
that was well Bill's office, and I used to work in there. But
But you're
it
able
was
to
cool.
see
Just
it.
it was just like right on the desk that I used to work at, and I was
Right,
just like,
right. That's it. That's the
yeah.
cup. It's right
I
there.
mean, it's not the real one. The real
No, I
one's
was
in the
gonna,
library somewhere.
and that was my next question. Have you touched the real one?
Well, it depends how you define real, because the real one actually never goes anywhere. It literally just gets transported after the games. The one that you see on the field is the replica that we
Right.
use everywhere else.
Hmm.
So the real one just travels back and forth between the two schools after whoever wins.
Right.
So I've
Hayden
never like
Library and wherever
seen
they
that thing.
store it. Okay.
So
So yeah, because I mean, I've done that before too, where I've actually gone down to Club Hayden and taken a picture of the actual cup. It's on
mhm.
display down there, down near the towards the stairs. But I wasn't sure if that was something that you got to deal with
No,
the
'cause
actual one.
no, I know that they when they bring that thing out, they bring the whole like it's in this huge case, and the guy wears the gloves,
Right.
and now this thing is just sitting on the desk in front of me, and I was like,
And it's a big, super hype, bulletproof case that they put it in
yeah,
and everything else,
yeah,
and got to cover it and everything else. So it's a bit because they don't need to restore it, do they? Or did they? I mean, I don't know. But anyway, it's just it gets they got to be super sensitive about handling
right.
it. Although one of my favorite stories was, and I wish I forgot what year it was, but we won it. We won the cup, and so they actually documented the guy picking it up from down there and bringing it back. And so he's there, and he walks into her name's IDA. And he's like, I'm here to pick up, and he extends his hand to shake her hand, and she doesn't shake his hand. She like, oh, you're the one, and then just kind of like turns away
That's funny.
and walks away. And it's like, oh, this is where it's at. And so there's a whole thing where he's showing as he's driving down and driving back. So yeah, but anyway, but what is your least favorite Sparky story, whatever it may have been?
And I
You
mean, it had to have been that experience at the wedding, but
it was it how
I mean,
about game situation then?
okay. It is Sunday of the last weekend of baseball. It is May. It might even have been June.
Okay.
It is 115 degrees out. There is maybe 80 fans there,
Oh,
and the game was a 6-hour game, and I had to stay there for 4 hours of it. And I had gone out drinking the night before,
hey.
so it was an absolutely horrible time. God, I think we were playing like UC Riverside, or it was one of those games that we always schedule at the end right before
Yeah.
the regionals, and it was horrible. I just remember like I would go and I would take my breaks and I would just be like laid down in the room that I like would change in, and just they'd be
Right.
like, Sparky, you have a promo, and I'm like, go away, I don't want to.
That must have been that must again youth. I mean, I can only imagine if I did that, I probably would have even shown up at my current age. I never. It's like nope, it's not happening.
No, I can't believe I did it. It was just no. There were some bad days like that, and
Right.
like just the first football games are always fun, but then you get to the fourth quarter and you've been in there for a while, and it's 105 degrees and you're sweating, and
And it's even more because you're down
it's
on the field.
11:30 at night, and you have class at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're just like that. Yeah, I'm not making it
Yeah,
tomorrow.
those Thursday games must have been brutal, right? Because not only are you doing everything you need, but then you got to get ready for the game and then everything else. And so everyone's kind of talked about that. I know Jordan Simone has mentioned that. Is it kind of nerve-wracking that, you have to wait all day for a Saturday night game to because you're just like I just want to go. I just want to be part of it on the
I
field.
mean, it's different because, like, I mean, obviously, I'm not competing, so it's like
Okay.
I'm excited for it. I just think I thought it was honestly a little different than being a fan, because, like, I couldn't do the normal fan things of like getting up and start drinking and getting up
Right.
and watching the other game. Like, it was more of like oh shoot, I got to go to work at 2 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game.
Right.
But then as the game starts to get closer, we do tailgates, and then everything starts to build up a little bit.
Right.
So I honestly feel like it was more like, can we just get this thing over with? Like, instead of being nervous or excited, it was more like, okay, there's too much time before the game starts. Like,
Right.
I just want to just get this over with.
And so then during a pregame, right, you're in the stadium, but are you able to go to like the alumni club on the other side of the
Yep. Well,
butte
Sparky
or
does. You said pregame.
yeah, before the game.
Sparky has a whole like he goes across pretty much all of Tempe before the game, and
Okay.
so they take him around on the golf cart. He goes to all the institutionalized tailgates that ASU puts on, and
Got it.
he shakes the hands and kisses the babies and takes the pictures.
You have
And then
to.
a couple times we were able to sneak to more of the fun tailgates where
Right.
just drove through those, and that was fun.
Oh, I bet, because then it's just like not the necessarily the organized ones where they're
Right,
expecting you, right? They're
right,
you got the random fans that are like,
right.
they just want to see you and take pictures and hug on and everything
Oh, that
else.
was the best though, because then we would come back with like boxes full of pizza, and like we'd have like plates full of food, and they'd be like, Sparky, take this, and we're just like, okay. Like we
And you'd
all
be
walk in with
fed.
like food. We're all carrying food back for Sparky.
Right.
Yeah, we definitely found that out towards the end, that if we did that, people would give us stuff.
I'm sure, and everyone's offering you a drink as well, but you cannot take a drink.
Yep, I definitely had that fair share of offers to have
Right.
buy Sparky a drink, and
They always,
uh,
and I think that would be probably one of the rules. You can't hold a drink
nope,
as Sparky, right?
cannot
No.
hold,
I'd
cannot
imagine
touch
that you
alcohol.
cannot do that at all, but
You actually have to be really conscious about anything that you're holding. For
okay.
example, anything that you hold has to be ASU approved. So,
Okay.
like any brands, like that's pretty much one of the rules, is don't take anything from somebody else.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, because if you were
unless you know
holding
what it is, and then you've seen the pictures of I'm with stupid and Sparky's posing with the wrong thing, or
exactly.
that one thing where the fake Sparky from ASU campus that they didn't throw out was posing next to the big government sucks sign. I don't know if you ever saw
Oh
that.
no, I haven't. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. You just gotta, if you don't know what it is, you just don't touch it,
Well, I
because
think
there
that
are
makes
people
sense.
trying to like get a bad picture of you, or
Of
like,
course. They want to be able to manipulate it, say, "Oh, this is
right,
what you did or didn't do, or everything else." Exactly, right? So, I mean, that's there's always someone out there trying to be malicious in some form or another, whatever it be. But the "I'm with stupid," that isn't even an actual. Was that an actual sign or was that photoshopped? I can't remember because I thought,
there's been a lot of like, for example, we have tried to do stuff like that with Wilbur this past year. I won't get into too much of it because I don't know how much they want to talk about,
of
but there was
course.
a little bit of a sign situation with Sparky and Wilbur that got a
Mm,
little past the point of, it was at a basketball game, past the point of okay, to the point where like
okay.
okay, we're not, you guys aren't allowed to talk for the rest of the game.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
so there, like we've there has been stuff that's been, like, oh, let's do this. And for example, um when we go places, we let them win their contests. When they come to us, they let us win our
Oh,
contests,
got
things
it. That's fair.
like that. We plan out skits, like
Okay.
things like that. But there's times where, I mean, you think about it, it's I hate U of A, they hate us, and we're college students in this really charged environment and are told to like
Right.
play nice. Maybe we're not gonna play nice. So there's some times where they kind of separate us.
Now, has there ever been, not unnecessarily, but I can't remember, has there ever been, have you witnessed a mascot fight?
I have not.
Okay.
I've witnessed some people being upset with each other, but
Mm-hmm.
not like a physical like throwdown or anything like that.
Because I'm trying to remember, and someone in the chat could probably put it out, because I don't think it was a Sparky fight, but I can't remember
It was
who
like the duck and Butch, the cougar, or something like that. I think I've
was
seen
it,
it where
or
they like,
maybe it was
l-
Oski. I can't remember.
yeah, where they like literally started fighting. I don't know about that. I mean, you got to remember, a lot of the times we're changing in the same rooms, so it's like
Right. So
I,
why would you be
I
fighting?
gotta like take it off and be like, hey, dude, like,
Yeah, you go back in. It's like, oh, hey, it's like, and
yeah,
someone's pissed off at you, right? So
yeah.
it's like that whole back and forth. But that's
But I
yeah,
mean, it happens. Like we were like when we played Michigan State, we had all this stuff planned with them, and then because they thought they were gonna kick our ass, and they were like, yeah, we'll joke
there
around
or
with you
here.
in Tempe.
Got it.
And so when they came down here, they thought they were gonna kick our ass, and we're like, yeah, we'll do all this stuff. Like I think me and a couple of the guys took their Sparties out on Mill the night before.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Okay.
and so yeah, we came up with all these skits, and then it came down to the third quarter, they were losing, they didn't want to do it
Of
anymore.
course.
And so like
Uh,
Like, I mean, you got to think like we're passionate about our football teams too. So
Of
like
course.
when push comes to shove, we're like, yeah, I know we talked about that, but like I can't think of anything other than this game right now. So shoot.
And they were fixated, and they were up for it. But anyway, that's a
Yeah, I think
shame.
it was a fourth quarter thing we were gonna do, and then they just like, no, we're not doing it
I
anymore. And
mean,
then
I understand that. I mean, but that's a shame that they weren't into it. Now, you said you went to Michigan. You were in East Lansing. Were you
for the game
there? Were there as a fan or
as a
as?
fan.
Oh, okay, got it, got it. So then you, but were they? They were. How were they? How was so? Let me figure this out. How was the interaction between the mascots in East Lansing relative to what you just shared in Tempe?
I couldn't tell. Like I said, we were still cool with those guys after. It was a heated moment for all of us. You know what I mean? Like it was
Of
like the
course,
fourth quarter, we were freaking out, they're freaking out, and they
right?
were like, so we don't think we had any hard feelings about it. Like they
Okay.
shot us a text the next day and like, hey, thanks for the great experience. I talked to the guy that went, and I don't know if he ended up going out with them, but they returned the favor to take us
Oh,
out the
cool.
night before the game, and we were trying to start a tradition that we didn't end up keeping. That
Oh,
was like a
gotcha.
one-time thing. But yeah,
Now, which school do you wish you would have gone as Sparky? Like, what is a
to
dream?
experience the game.
Yeah, as a
I
mascot.
mean, well, one, I guess to share, and I know Will brought it up in the chat. My sister is a cheerleader at the University of Oregon,
Okay,
so that was really cool. I got to go be Sparky in Oregon while she was also on the field as
gotcha.
a cheerleader, so that was really cool for my family and all of us. But this past year, she got to cheer at the Rose Bowl.
Ah,
So I went to the Rose Bowl and got to see my sister on the field and being a part of that and being in the Rose Parade and all that stuff. And I
right
couldn't
on.
help but think like, damn, that would have been really cool
Right.
to be a part of something like that. So, oh, I did the Sun Bowl. I forgot about that, and
Okay.
so that was a fun experience because it was a bowl game. So they did the parade, and I people in El Paso, and like it was cool. Like it
Okay.
was different,
Right on.
but I just can't help but think what that would have been like to be on the field for a huge event like the Rose Bowl
Right.
or a playoff
In the
game.
parade, or yeah, in the playoffs and everything else. Exactly. So, no, that's fair to be able to do that. But any non-conference teams, what is your what's your dream, or what stadiums or games are on your bucket list from a
I
college
have a
football perspective?
I have a goal to do a new stadium every year.
Okay.
So I've done all 12, and I've done like 6 or 7 non-conference, all the non-conference we've done in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Um, I've gone to a Michigan State game at the Big House,
Okay.
so that was cool. My stepdad is a Michigan season ticket holder.
Oh, right on.
His dad played at football and won a Rose Bowl at Michigan, so
Wow.
he has
Okay.
a Rose Bowl ring, which is super cool. Um, but I don't know, like I'm excited for a couple of things. Like I don't think there's anything that really sticks out like I have to do this. I mean,
Okay.
something that come to mind are like, yeah, whiteout at Penn State would be
Okay.
cool, or um, none of the SEC schools really interest me that much, to be
Okay.
honest. Like I don't know, I just kind of want to experience it all. Every school's got its own little
Of
thing,
course.
and
Absolutely.
now that I'm older and can experience the nightlife afterwards and the tailgating spots now that I'm not
Right.
working, and that's what I'm really excited about.
And then so this last season, so you were able to enjoy it as a fan, right? So how different was that being a
I
fan?
actually was working, so I
Not
have
yet.
not had a season as a fan yet, and I'm really looking forward to it. And honestly, I had my season tickets for this year, and
Okay.
just kind of sucks, but that's
Yeah,
why I like
exactly.
going to away games because I got that fan experience that I didn't get to have at home.
Gotcha. Okay, and you're able to do that. So, Will Jaspers, was that the trouble with the snap game? I believe that was, or was it too many? I don't know exactly which game they're mentioning on the chat, but Will, I'll let you clarify that one. For me, on my bucket list is Army Navy. I
Yeah, I
want to
thought
be able to
about
do that.
that. I've thought about that, and then I just don't know how much I would like. I mean, it's about more than the football game, you know what I mean? So
It
I
is
would just don't know how much I would understand, or if it's something that if you're there, you just kind of feel it.
right.
But that would be definitely a cool one.
That's definitely the one that I want. And then, which stadium would you not go to?
I mean, I would travel to go watch Akron play Miami of
It
Ohio if I
doesn't
had
matter.
to.
You would go any
Doesn't
stadium.
matter to
Okay,
me.
cool.
I just think that the college football is so interesting to me, of the different people that go and the different traditions that go on during games and things like that. I would love to see all of them. I will say that there are obviously a couple places that just really don't interest me,
Okay.
but I would still go.
Like I won't set foot in the horseshoe. I will
Really,
not go to Ohio State, and I just maybe that's because of the Rose Bowl, but I just
if you want an interesting story,
please.
Joe Germain,
Okay.
the quarterback of Ohio State at the time, was my high school football coach.
Okay.
So that was always fun hearing about those stories.
Talking about that, I mean, yeah, it's always interesting. So I mean, I think it would be quite the experience. I think it'd be all of those Big Ten teams, because I remember going to Wisconsin, right, and I heard East Lansing was just so welcoming. So I just think all of those Big Ten schools would be extremely welcoming and very fan centric, right, and just quite the amazing experience. But it's just, I guess that's the only one that I think is just not on my list, right? I think definitely, I think Mississippi State we're doing in a few years, so hopefully, this all gets cleared up, because that's definitely one. The two games I had on my list this year were going to be Colorado and Washington State. Washington State on Halloween would have been
That would have been pretty
crazy.
damn cool.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
have been actually pretty. So those are definitely, because I mean, I love Wazoo fans. I mean, they're fantastic on Twitter, and there's a lot of good exchanges that way, and they're cool, and they're passionate, but they actually have some good give and take. But I think it's definitely one of those stadiums that it seems intimate, so that's definitely why I wanted to go
It
there.
absolutely is. It is. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. The whole like experience of Washington State is weird, but that's why the school has so much charm, and
Right.
why it is what it is.
Weird in what way? Like
Well,
what's your
for
take?
example, I went first off. I went when it was my freshman year in college, and I went with
Okay.
my uncle, so I didn't really get to experience a lot of the things I would experience now going to
Right.
a game there. But we stayed in Spokane, and it's 2 hours away from Spokane, in the middle of nowhere. Like, you're
Right.
just driving through like plains, and all of a sudden there's this just small town of Pullman,
Right.
and it's just their stadium's like right in the middle of their campus, and it's like, honestly, I don't want you to talk bad about it like this, because it was actually a really cool stadium, but you feel like you're in a high school stadium. Like, it's all one little bowl, and it's
Right.
like you walk in, and you just walk straight down. Like,
Right.
it's not like there's like a upper deck, but it's super cool. The fans are really nice. They
Yes.
were when they won, they weren't so nice, but I mean, who is? So
Yeah, exactly. Who is nice when you
yeah.
lose? Yeah, that's why I'm really excited about the other one that I wanted to go to is Colorado. So that was that I wanted to see the running of Ralphie. So have you
If
gotten
you Yes, if you go, make sure you sit in the ASU section.
okay?
Buy tickets to ASU, because they literally run Ralphie ends like right in front of the visiting team. Like, he runs into the
Okay.
and they keep him there. Keep her, sorry, keep her there the whole game. So
Oh,
Ralphie
really?
just
She stays there
like,
then.
yeah, it's just right in front of the. I mean, she's in her trailer, but
Right, right, but she's
it
there the entire game.
it's weird. Like, just watching a like huge animal run through a football stadium, but it's just funny because nobody's watching the team.
No.
Everyone's just watching this buffalo run through the stadium.
3,000, 4,000 pounds of whatever it is, and just these kids are just running with
Yeah,
him,
they just
running with her. And it's like, is it the entire stadium, meaning one way all the way to the end zone and the other, or is it to the 50
they
yard
run
line?
it around. They run it in a shoe.
Jeez
So
whiz, that's so cool. Yeah, that was going to be the one. My buddy from here in the Bay Area, he's a huge college football fan. He's a Cyclone. He's Iowa State. And so we were going to go, and we're just going to hang out and drink, eat. I guess
Boulder's got some really cool bars.
yeah, I think
That was my
marijuana.
first.
I think
Yeah,
marijuana's legal there,
yeah,
so
it is. It's legal where you are too, though. So
it is. So it's not that big deal. But the novelty's cool because I'm out of state, and anyway, because I have some THC tea, and so I would probably just fall asleep if I did an
yeah,
edible or anything. I just like, okay, I got to go to bed, right? And that would be it. I mean, it's just like, yeah, that's why bother? Why bother? I'm trying to enjoy myself doing that. But that's the other thing too. So now the alumni events. Were you at a lot of alumni events or like fundraisers or stuff like that as well?
yeah, I had to do those, and honestly, theirs were what you think they would be. You show up, and you got a lot of
Sterile, sterile.
yeah, just stand in the corner, take the pictures, walk around,
Right.
say hi, and then you leave.
Which
Not the
was your
most.
f- which was your favorite event to do outside of games?
Outside of okay, so birthday parties and stuff like that was fun
Okay.
because it was less structure. It was more like, wow, these kids are freaking out. Like it's like the end of like they couldn't believe what was happening.
Right.
But then after like 5 minutes, it got super awkward. Like it was like, okay, like I don't like do I stay here now? Like what like they're asking me to like play these games with them and like it's just awkward. It was like, woo, Sparky's here, this is awesome. And now it's like, okay, Sparky, be part of my life now. I'm like, no, I
Exactly.
need to leave. Um,
That's the most expensive
but
$5 someone ever spent.
sometimes it was nice to do like the corporate events because then they'd give you like just a bunch of gift cards. Like I
Oh,
did this
okay.
event like I think it was In and Out, and I got like $150 to In and Out, and I like
Damn,
just
you got to eat for
always
months.
had the In and Out cards for like ever. But those were nice. You always knew like which sponsors were gonna give you cards, so like we don't fight over those events.
Of course.
Uh, like cold beers and cheeseburgers used to give us dinner afterwards, so like
Okay.
we'd go and anything we wanted on the menu, they'd order it for
Oh,
us.
that's cool. Now, would you always have to deal with fans from the other school? Like, would there be
Um,
kids that parents went to the other school and they're like, I don't like you?
oh, like oh yeah, yeah. I will say I actually changed my mind. We
Okay.
used to do this thing, and I don't know if they're gonna do it anymore, but it's called the Sun Devil Caravan. I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen it on social
Yes.
media.
You used to go to different locations. Like, you would go to
Yeah.
Yuma and
So
yeah, go ahead.
we do a an assembly when we do that for the
Okay.
school, and then the Sun Devil Club puts it on. Bridget Arnson does it. She does a fantastic job.
Okay.
But it's really cool because you like do this character assembly based on Sparky's name,
Okay.
and it's just a real fun experience because you got these kids in like this ginormous room with like 500 of them, and they're all like they don't even know who you are, but they're like, yeah, these random kids in San Diego are like, yeah, Sparky, yeah,
Right
ASU,
on.
and it's just cool because like they don't have any experience with ASU, and they probably never will again. But
Right.
and then on a real note, it's kind of cool to like open their eyes to school and college a little
Of
bit
course.
because they might not have had that experience otherwise, especially when we would go to like underserved areas, like places on reservation. We went a couple times, and we partnered with the Native American groups at ASU that
Okay.
came with us, and so it was super cool to do things like that. That has to have been my favorite outside of, and I did every single one for all 4 years,
Really?
as Sparky and as just volunteer in general.
So
So
you would volunteer for that and you'd be able to be
yeah,
traveling around. So now, like you said, you would go to San Diego, but all the places around the state as well, right? Or would there be
yes,
other?
we would do. It would be like a 2 week thing.
Okay.
So like we would do like four one week, and then we would do like an out of town, and then we would do like three the next week.
Okay.
But so for example, we would do like Glendale, we did Queen Creek, we did Phoenix areas, stuff in Tempe, stuff in I don't know, I don't think we ever did Tucson, but then we'd always do like we did LA, we did San Diego one year, we did Vegas one
Right
year.
on. Okay.
So it was just cool because then on the out of town ones, those are like a couple day thing. So
Of
you go and
course.
you stay in the hotel and you have fun and you do community service projects and meet the alumni in the area that come out to meet and greet and
Right on.
Ray and some of the coaches would come along, and
Okay.
it would just be cool.
Very nice. And so now, obviously, you were working in the athletic department and you would see everyone else. Like, what were the interactions with the various coaches? Like, what's one of your favorite stories interacting with some of the coaches outside of
Well,
costume?
my my favorite story. I will tell you this: I have spoken to Coach Edwards like 4 or 5 times in my life.
Okay.
I think I've rode the elevator with him once.
All right.
He is exactly like he is on TV in person.
Okay.
Like when he's like, even not like, because they're like I've been with him around him at events, and he's gonna put on like the whole
Of course,
persona,
you
but
have to. Right.
he's like literally the same person. Like when he's walking down the hallway, he's the same person. When he's in the elevator, he's the same person. So I think that was cool to like see that like behind the scenes of him a little bit. And
Of
I never
course.
was in, like a meeting with him or anything like that.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, I just have to say like, and I don't really want to get into everything that went on with Ray right before that, but it was really really cool to know that as a student that was working to try to build other affinity within other students,
Hmm.
um, Ray had our back and he cared about that stuff way more than I could say probably any other athletic director in the country. It was cool to
Wow.
see him like give support. I think one thing about 942 is that we probably don't acknowledge enough, but at the end of the day, and that whole thing is built to like build affinity with students that they leave afterwards. They want to be donors, they want to be season ticket
Of
holders.
course.
But the athletic department spends an incredible amount of money and time and effort into creating the best experience that they possibly can. And that starts with people like Ray Anderson and, even just like Dina Garner Smith, our senior women administrator, and of course Bill Kennedy that put
Right.
time into being like this matters,
Yep.
building fans, building student affinity matters. Um, so I think just going through that and seeing, and now, did I agree with everything? Hell no. Like there was lots of things that just absolutely just drove me up a wall,
Of
and with,
course.
especially with the direction that college sports is going in general, with everything being about money.
Right.
But we got some good people in the department,
Okay.
and I think that's what was really cool about it. And I won't share any. I don't really well want to get into any of my like negative feelings towards things, but I will say that when it comes to like top leadership and people like Coach Edwards and Ray
Hmm.
Anderson and senior women Dina and a couple other people in administration. We got some
Right.
good people there, so that makes
Excellent.
me feel good.
That it gives you the vibe of that's where it is, right? Because not only, especially now in this time, right, there seems to be a much more unified direction. And I think having that top-down direction from Ray Anderson to everyone else, everyone kind of, we're in this together. This is the direction we're going. And I think he probably acknowledges, hey, look, Ray Anderson probably acknowledges, look, I think you may disagree, and this is you want to play and everything else, but as a family, that's the only term I can come up with, is that
Right.
this is the direction we have to go, and this is the direction we have to be in. And so you can
I,
kind of get that, I think, as an outsider, that okay, they're unified because you don't have some rando like Jim Harbaugh. It's like, okay,
Right,
I'm going to
and you
protest.
can absolutely see that now, and I think that it definitely comes down to not only Dr. Crow's leadership, who I have lots of bones to pick with, but Ray's leadership and even Coach Edwards and their approach to the team. And I know we're not going to hear about how the other athletes are feeling just because we only hear about football and things like that. But
Right.
I mean, you can see that they seem to at least somewhat understand. And yeah, Jaden will tweet about wanting to play, but it's not this uproar of
Right.
why aren't you playing? Why aren't you communicating with me kind of thing. But on a lighter note, to kind of change the subject, I do have one really interesting story that I like sharing with
I
people.
like it.
Um, I was in the office one day, and if you remember, it was the day that we all thought Bobby was going to Michigan. It was like, gosh, I can't remember. It was a couple days after the season, like last year or something like that. And I was just working in the office, and um, we were talking about it because like rumors were flying, and so we were all tweeting
Of
about
course.
it, and we were all checking on our phones, and I was in there, and I just remember like looking down the hallway, and then like Bobby just like beelined it to Ray's office, and
Okay.
it was like he wasn't smiling, like he didn't say hi to anybody, like it was like, and I literally just sat there and I was like, did I just witness like Bobby going into the meeting where he's telling Ray he's
Yeah, it's
leaving?
like it's happening.
Uh, that was the only thing I could think of was like, oh my god, it's like happening. And then like he left and everything was fine, and he didn't leave. And
Right.
most likely it had nothing to do with that. But it was just funny that I was like sitting in the office like, oh my god, Bobby's gonna leave. Bobby's gonna leave. There goes Bobby Hurley walking down to Ray's
Yeah.
office, like stone cold face, and oh, it was. But I just remember like my heart just sank, and I was like peeking
Yeah.
out the door, like looking. That's my favorite office story, or like just random things where we'd be in there, and Jake Plummer would just come in and start talking to like Bill, and I'd be like, and I got to meet him, and hey
Of
Jake,
course.
nice to meet you, and just random people that we'd run into at games that would, like me being just a fan
Of
as
course.
well was really cool, and then also having to be like, oh yeah, I'm a professional, like yeah, nice to meet you.
You can't fangirl.
No, it
You
cannot
want
fangirl.
to, but you just can't. You get it.
Uh,
Who was the one athlete that you wanted to fangirl over, but you couldn't, other than Jake or anyone that you've already mentioned?
um, I think personally, like, it sounds weird to say, but having experienced a lot of like being around these people, and like you start to see them as people,
Okay.
and so you like don't necessarily get that feeling. But I mean, like there was, for example, I'll give you one. It wasn't any of our athletes, but I had a really, really big hands-on portion of the Michael Phelps thing
Oh,
when he
okay.
was in the curtain. That was probably one where I didn't really understand the magnitude of what had happened during it until afterwards.
Right.
But I remember sitting there and we were talking to him before he went out because I was doing social media, and he was talking to us with his fiance, and he was talking. He's like, "Hey, the I don't forget his name. The owner of the Falcons called, and he was talking to his fiance. He's like, he was going to pick us up on the way to the Super Bowl. Do we want to go?" And it was like, and it was like just totally nonchalant. Yeah, he's gonna pick us up in his jet on the way to the Super Bowl. We're gonna go. Do you want to go? But that was crazy. Like now that I look back on it, like knowing who Michael Phelps is
Right.
and not really appreciating that moment of like I got to spend like at least an hour with him, like and talking with him about what we were gonna
Of
do, and
course.
he's in a speedo and like oh god, that was that was really cool and something that I absolutely get so many questions about on a daily basis. Just like I mean, I went golfing the other week and I was partnered with some random guy who saw my 942 shirt. He's like,
Okay.
"Oh, Michael Phelps," and I was like, "Yep, I was a part of that."
That was me. I was
Yeah,
actually that exact curtain
yeah.
was me.
I was literally following him with my cell phone out like this, recording it. But
That's so funny.
that is a story that I don't think I fully appreciated at the time.
Right at the because you're focused on making sure it goes right. You don't want to be you don't
Well,
want this or
and
that.
not just that, I think a part of it was also me just being an 18-year-old kid who didn't know the magnitude of what was going on because Bill to this day makes fun of me because he called me and he's like, dude, Michael Phelps is going to be in the curtain. And I was like, okay, I'll call you after class. Like I wasn't, I didn't even understand. And then we broke the whole internet for like a whole day. And
You
like
did.
literally the entire internet was broken. And, we were getting interviews in ESPN and we were on College Game Day. We were on set on Sports Center. It was just
Right.
like a wild, like couple of months. And I was like, yeah. And then when Bill called me, I was like, oh, okay, like cool. I'll call you when I'm out of this class.
That's so funny. Yeah, that was actually I just remember that. That was so huge because again, he was just helping the swim team for a little
Right.
while there and then just again his participation in I think that he may have been like, obviously he's the most decorated Olympian to be in the curtain, but arguably the most famous, I would
Oh,
guess.
absolutely. I mean, like to put this into perspective, I guess. Like, I mean, we were literally doing interviews and things from people like around the world. Were calling us and asking us how that happened. And it sounds like super like, oh, we were doing interviews, but like it was crazy. People like we were on game shows in Europe and people like were writing stories about it, like literally all over the place. Like my phone, I had to literally turn off notifications because it would just be buzzing all day long of people just tweeting the account and being like Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps. And and honestly, I think the one thing is and we joke about this. I think if he knew what was going to happen
Okay.
afterwards, he would not have done it
Oh, interesting.
because he thought he was just doing some local thing. But like, if you watch things that Michael Phelps goes to, they play that video.
Oh, they do.
Like,
Yeah. It's the curtain, his time
yeah,
on the curtain.
because it was perfect. People think that okay, I'm sorry, he didn't actually have his medals. People ask that all the time. They were medals we got at the dollar store.
Exactly.
But people ask like he was in speedo with his medals, and it was all over ESPN. It was just it completely I will probably never in my life be a part of something that was bigger worldwide than what that happened. And
That
I think
was brilliant.
that
That's
and
wild that you were getting
yeah,
global calls.
yeah, we were. It was crazy. We didn't even know how to like respond. And then here's the next game. We're rolling out against Oregon, and everyone's like, "Oh, screw this! I don't want to watch this. We just had Michael Phelps. Season's over. Like, just call it over."
Yeah,
Like,
we peaked mid-season.
yeah, we peaked. It's over. Like, just
It's like,
just screw
the
it.
curtain. And it's always, but Bill Walton always gives you guys love.
He does.
He does always give us love. And that just, I never want to see it go away. I don't care what anyone says. So hopefully who's in,
Well, and I have a couple. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
no, I hope it never goes away, but who's in charge of it now? But maybe your stories may be related.
I first off, I know it's 9:13. I've got nowhere to be. I got to work in the morning, but
It's
you
all
tell
right.
me when you gotta go.
It's okay.
Gosh,
Conversation's good. People
yeah.
are good. It doesn't matter. We'll stay.
Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, but first off, now it's very much student run. So we have
Okay.
a curtain distraction chair every year that takes it
Oh,
upon themselves.
okay.
Obviously, like staff has final say of what they do not do there.
Of course.
But it's student run. They come up with their own skits. They do all that stuff. So
Right.
I think and now that I've had a few drinks, I'll be a little bit more honest about this.
Hey.
Nothing makes me more upset than seeing, and I know the one person that does this a lot is Doug Holler will make comments about the curtain,
Okay.
about whether it should exist or not. And
Right.
I think what they fail to acknowledge is that, does it work? Who knows? Like, I
I
mean,
don't
sure,
care.
they ran the study on it. Like, it worked, quote unquote. It's 2 points a game, whatever the New York Times said that one
Right.
time. But there is a group of 20 or 18 to 22-year-olds who, for 2 hours, feel like they're impacting a basketball game,
Absolutely.
and they will never forget the time they spent there, and they're giving their time and effort away to support a basketball team and build lifelong fans.
Right.
So, to be honest, I really don't give a shit what you feel like standing in the stands,
Right.
because if you want the basketball team to do good and you want it to grow and you want it to like be in a better position in the future, these are the things that we have to do.
Absolutely.
And it just absolutely grinds my gears when I see people like talk about it. And yes, I was a part of it, so obviously I feel that way. But I just think it's like people are like, it's annoying, it needs to stop. And I'm like, okay, so then let's just scrap everything and just go sit and be a normal program again. And like, screw all these kids that are you're supposed to be building like lifelong
Right.
affinity with. That's what I feel like people don't grasp about it. Does it work? I don't know. Is it annoying? Yes. Is it stupid? Probably. But we're like actually building towards something there, and if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
It's a tradition. It's a tradition that, like the Cameron Crazies at Duke. They have them, yeah, they're in right and half court, but they're loud and they're jumping and they don't sit down at all. But I mean, it's like I said, it's a tradition. And that's the other thing too. Oh, there's not a Trump tradition at the other schools and we're doing it. It's like, no, you have to have these sorts of traditions to be able to establish that and go through and make it happen.
Right.
And like, I totally agree with you that. So it's, what is it, right? Are we allowed to have traditions or are we not? Are we going to establish them or
And then
not?
you complain about not having traditions, and then we have one, and you're
Now
like,
we're
get rid of it.
trying, and it's like, no, get rid of it. It's like, well, and that's my, yeah, and that's my thing too. I think that's why I love it. I don't care if it does or does impact it. I don't. I just want to see it. Bill Walton acknowledges it, and you know what? When it does work, and they do brick a shot, the whole section loses their mind.
They do lose their mind because they think that they did something.
Oh,
and I
absolutely.
think that's what,
I
like,
lose my mind. I'm at home. I'm like, yeah. So anyway.
But okay, I will say on this though, like I have seen them. Like there is a lot of, the majority of them do not look. 90% of them do not look.
Right.
But I will say this: 100% of the time is the entire bench of the other team watching. It's the coaches of the other team watching. And at the end of the day, they're not paying attention to the game and they're thinking about something else. And
Right.
so, did I make that guy miss the free throw? No, but when Sean Miller calls or freaking Chris Jeter or whatever his name is off the bench, and he's been watching the damn some dude work in a Speedo for the last 5 minutes, like that couldn't have helped his psyche at that
Absolutely.
moment.
If you can mess with it, why not? So no, I have.
Right.
That's why I just, again, it's something so unique. I think Coach Sendek tried to do something at Santa Clara,
Yeah.
a variant of it. I don't think it's stuck.
Coach Sendek was very integral in the creation of 942 and the creation of the curtain in general.
Okay.
So I see where he was going with trying to recreate that at his new school. So I am very, as someone who wasn't around for him, I'm very thankful for because 942 and the curtain would not exist without Coach Sendek. So I'm very, very, very like thankful for the time that he spent here and what he's been able to do that I guess that impacted my life later on.
Right.
But same time, it was a little cringy to watch.
It was a little it was a little blatant, and it did not last.
Yeah,
because a lot of people came down on that. Even though, like you said, to your point, it wouldn't have existed without him. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I absolutely adore that thing, and I look forward to seeing it, and I'm glad it's there, and I'm excited to see what else it is. And I think given more, I mean, it's just like. I swear, I mean, I remember, I think it was during the Kansas game when, Grant Hill and all kinds of people were there in the arena, right? I'm praying, and I still continue to pray, and I'm going to add it to my daily rosary. Hopefully, like eventually they get like Christian Leitner or someone like that as part of the curtain, right? Just because of Bobby Hurley and what he's able to do and who he is and what he's establishing here.
Well, you had a good point when Grant was there and he did it. Like that was literally just like he was sitting in there and we were like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And he was like, "Sure." And that was how we got Cole Tucker, who was a shortstop for the
Right.
Pirates. He did it. We literally just walked up to him and we're like, "Do you want to do it?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I'll do it." So it's just like, it's cool. I mean, we asked Carmelo Anthony when he was there and he didn't do it.
Yeah, that's
we've
right.
asked celebrities that have been like, "Nah." But you know what's funny is what I tell everybody, what I don't think that they fully grasp is for the first couple years, of our celebrities. So that's Charlie Day, that's
Oh yeah, I
Michael
remember.
Phelps,
Yep.
that was Simon Paginow and the IndyCar guys.
Yep.
Um, I mean, shit, even Archie Bradley. We didn't ask those people. Like
Interesting.
they approached us and asked if they could do it. Oh,
Oh, that's good.
YG is the one that absolutely blows my mind. We get a call or an email like the night or 2 nights before, and YG had specifically asked to be in the curtain of distraction because he was in there for a concert the night before.
Right, right.
And I was like, okay, what is happening? Like YG is rolling through. He smells like weed. His entire group smells like weed. We're rolling in. If Dr. Crow like walks in right now, we're 942 is over.
Right.
But it just blew my mind. Like YG asked to be in this
That's
thing.
so funny. That's so cool. And now people aren't asking, but do you think you could reach out, or do you think it's just
Yeah,
because?
we do ask. It's just, and I guess again, I say we as in past we,
Right.
but we do ask. It's just um, a lot of times when you ask these celebrities, they're getting asked so many other things,
That's
and
fair.
it's just like, okay, this is just some other random group asking on behalf of whatever, and
Asking us to act
so
dumb.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying is all of the times that we've had a celebrity, it hasn't been us asking. It's been them either approaching us or, it coming up in conversation and be like, hey, you ever want to do this?
Right.
And we had Jake did it and we were bothering him for a while to get it done. Uh, but I mean, we had Nikhil did it and
Right.
like, it was just,
That was after he got
it,
drafted? I can't remember.
yes, it was right
It
after he
was.
got
Okay,
drafted.
got it.
And he was dating Kiana Ibis at the time, who
Yes.
was on the women's team. And so
Right.
he did it at a women's game for her.
Yep.
And it is just a fun experience, and they all have fun doing it, and
Absolutely.
it's yeah,
Why not do the curtain of distraction if you can't do it for the gram, right?
right.
Do it for the
Do
Instagrams.
it for Zicker.
Exactly, right? I guess you can't do it for the Vine anymore, which was the original thing, which I miss Vine. Oh, do I miss Vine. But
TikTok.
Is it TikTok now?
Yeah.
You're okay with your
Yeah,
information being
they
out
can
there.
steal my information.
It's there isn't much out there. Although
It's like everybody else steals it anyway. So.
it's gonna be theft. Although I had a really crazy I think I just forgot my password, but I had this master password that I think got hacked. So I was changing like my master password and my emails and I spent like a good 2 hours changing the password to like all of my shit because I was like, okay, if it got lifted somehow, I'm gonna get boned. So I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I gotta change it all. But with the curtain of distraction, like I said, as long as it's something that it's a tradition, we're able to keep up. People are interested in it. It's definitely something that continues to get attention. And so, what do you think? Who's the one person that you wish did the curtain but didn't, but turned you guys down, or you haven't asked yet?
Dr. Crow. Like that's the one person. Like I just can't. And I get that that's not his type of leadership and his type of presidency and things
Right.
like that. But Dr. Crow is definitely somebody that I wish would have done it at some point.
Right. Exactly. Now, other than the tournament, the curtain hasn't traveled, right? The curtain doesn't travel. Other
No, the
than the
herd
pack,
does not
it does not
travel
travel.
anywhere except for the Pac-12 tournament.
I guess that's a good thing because even though it is kind of a crazy setup, is it a straightforward setup? Does it travel well, or does it break down, or no?
Well, it's, for example, when we take it to the Pac-12, we don't take the whole thing. We have a travel curtain
You have a
because
travel
it
curtain.
would be impossible. The thing is it is honestly a piece of junk. So
But that's why
it
it's so
barely
cool.
it barely survives basketball games. Like, let me just put it there. There's no way it would survive any going anywhere
Oh
else.
man.
It barely survives the walk from its closet to like the floor. So
They haven't done it. It's like, yeah. Well, now that basketball's getting some sort of budget, maybe they can hook you up with
yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that.
something. But that would be the thing, though. That would be kind of mess with the appeal, right? Because now if it's like it's all fancy and it's all weirded out, it's like, no, you want it kind of to be a little.
Well, and they had like we've had different people would approach us about sponsoring the curtain or like things like that, and it's
Oh,
just not something that the students at that time wanted to do. You know what I mean? It's like it's a part of their little thing, and ASU does a lot of things for us, and we're a good part. They were good partners
right.
in letting boosters do it and things like that, but selling advertisements on the curtain or people wearing the curtain is just not something we wanted
Really?
to do.
They wanted, like, Bashas wanted to put their name on there or something like that?
Essentially, yeah, and or like,
Wow.
we've let we've let the Whataburger guy be in the curtain because I mean it's funny. It's a big costume. Like who cares?
Exactly.
Like, but no, yeah, we don't do any of the spot. Like we didn't do. And again, this is all the students deciding whether they wanted to do it or not. And at that time, we did not want to put anything on the curtain. So who knows?
Right.
Maybe they do in the future and they make some money and they do something with it. But as of right now, it didn't seem like an option we wanted to go forward with.
That kind of takes away the appeal, though, because then it's like if you see some big old nasty brand on the screen,
Right.
then you're like, now I'm not as interested in seeing this, right? But if it's just some big black screen and then it opens up and someone jumps out,
Yeah.
smearing mayo all over them like Q,
You.
then it's like, okay, now that was and that's actually kind of interesting because I don't know if Q's mayo trick worked. I don't remember
Oh,
original.
Q, and I hope he never sees this. But I'm just kidding. He was the most serious about getting a miss that about
Oh, interesting.
anybody we've ever had in the curtain. So
He was like,
um,
it was his. That was like his.
it
There
was
was
his
a goal of his
goal to get
existence.
them to look at him and to get that miss. So, and then honestly, I think you would be absolutely shocked of how many people like are that serious about going out there and getting a miss. Like people will be like, I got no misses today. Like I was garbage. Like it was
Oh, I see what you're saying.
people have we have stats. We've
Of
had stats
course.
at the curtain. We have like people have to keep their individual stats, and at the end of the day, like, oh, I got a miss, or yeah, it's a real operation back
Oh,
there.
absolutely. I mean, I think that's the other thing too. It's like, I mean, I'm not gathering the metrics on it, right? But still, it's like if it's a miss and it works, then you know that then it did its job. Then it was
Right.
entertaining that way, right? So it's always it's always good. How was the Kansas team with the curtain of distraction? I don't know if it did anything for them, but I
I
don't know.
will say the big games, I will guarantee it doesn't work because there's so many people in front of it. There's so many people around it. Like they add more
Oh,
courtside seats. They add more media. Like we can't even move back there. So for the bigger games, it's all a TV production at that point. Like it's like
interesting.
the TV's telling us where to set up, what to do. Like we're a TV production at that point. But for the smaller games and for like women's games,
Yeah.
like when it's dead silent in the arena except for some dude yodeling like in a tutu, like I guarantee you that actually has an impact on the
Yeah,
game.
and you're able to do that.
Yeah, and we're rolling out people and like that are like pretty much walking on the court for women's games, and like we get to do some fun stuff at women's basketball games. So
Absolutely. So now, has the curtain been seen at any other events other than basketball?
yes, we did it at many things.
Okay.
We've done it at one thing that was super funny. We tried to do it at water polo for and the ref came out and told us we couldn't do it. And it was like this huge ordeal. They stopped the match and like were telling us that we couldn't do it. And then we like looked up in the rules afterwards, and there was nothing in the rules that said that they actually said like in jurisdiction that they had no jurisdiction over the crowd. So like I don't know if there was like a formal complaint, but one of our assistant coaches made a complaint to like the refs after the game, and
Okay.
like they need to be able to do this. And we were gonna do it this past year, but then it got canceled.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I mean, we've done it at other things, and we bring it to events. Like, I mean, people sometimes will ask us like to bring it to like golf tournaments and stuff, so we'll
Okay.
like distract people as they're teeing off and like just fun things like that. Like
You guys haven't gotten hired. The curtain hasn't gotten hired for a wedding.
the curtain has not gotten hired for a wedding. I don't believe so. But
Okay.
we've gotten hired for some weird random events that we've just and then those are so awkward because people don't realize that like you can't just put it out there. It doesn't make sense.
Right. It's just like
But
the curtain.
yeah, like it's got to be doing something. And so like golf events, that stuff is fun because you're
Right.
like it's just like basketball and people are laughing at us and talking smack and all sorts of stuff. But
Exactly.
um, yeah, definitely it's funny. It has made its appearance at other events, but
Right.
nothing outside of I guess outside of the usual.
Has there ever been a fan from the other team come and yell at you guys?
Oh, yes. Okay, first off, I don't know if you know this, but at DFA now,
It's
the
the bank.
away
Let's call
team,
it the bank. Like
the
Bob
bank.
will be the Bob
Well,
forever.
I wasn't allowed to call it the bank for a while, but
Oh,
the
now you
DFA
can.
now I can. The bank, um, the it the obviously the away team bench is right by the student
Hmm.
section. That means that the away team fans are really right behind their bench. It's not
Yes.
like football where they have a whole section. They probably have like
Right.
5 rows, but a lot of those are parents.
Yes.
Um, and there have been some exchanges with students and the curtain and things like that with
Wow.
parents. There actually has been a few with like people on the bench in general.
Really?
Uh, yeah, I mean it's like students that are probably drunk and
Mm,
like in the first couple rows yelling at people and
right.
people taking it a little bit too seriously and things like that. But um, yeah, definitely incidents with other fans and things like that.
Would they like come up to you guys, or would they be just yelling from their seat, Karening at you from like wherever they're at?
We had one person that I can remember that actually like physically came up and said something, but obviously like what were they going to get done? Like we do this at every game. Like
Exactly.
go away. Most people just scream, like you said, Karening from their seats. Like
Right. Okay.
stop it, you're embarrassing. Like
Because you don't understand it. You
and
hate.
then you don't realize by you yelling at them, you're just making them want to do it even
Oh, you're
more.
inciting us now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just you're just pouring gasoline
So
on the fire.
now when somebody goes out there with their shirt off, they're gonna swing it and point at you instead of just pointing at the like just being there at the game. Like you
Right.
just absolutely made this 100% worse for yourself.
Exactly. And that was the
And
other
I
thing too. Like, has anyone ever tried to attack the curtain itself?
no,
Okay.
thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything where it happened like that.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure. Because I mean, obviously, like you have people yelling at you, right? But then again, has anyone threatened the curtain with violence? I guess is
No
the.
one, the curtain has yet to be threatened with violence.
Okay, there we go. As long as it's.
Although it will happen at some point, I can almost guarantee that.
See again, I think that would be probably would break the internet again. I think it would just solidify its existence, in the world, right? Because obviously, the whole Michael Phelps thing blew it up, but then someone had
Took it
enough
down.
yeah, had enough gumption in them to bring it back. And I think it'd be a huge thing to be able to make it a big stink, where you can promote it and it's Return of the Curtain and all this other stuff and sell shirts and all this other nonsense because someone decided to be a pain in the ass and ruin the curtain.
Thank God, it still has not received violence against
It's
it.
exactly as long as it have the refs given you guys shit.
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
So like the refs usually have more. I mean, okay, so now we're at a point where like they expect it. Like
Okay.
they know it's coming.
Right.
They walk out, they look at it. Like I mean, they obviously it's a little different from a player to a ref. Like the refs are professionals, so I
Right.
mean they're not going to look at it like it is what it is. But like before the game, they will look. They'll make sure that we're behind. I mean, the way that the setup is, we're actually quite a good distance off of court.
Yes.
So there's nothing they can really do about it. But there have been times where somebody has gone a little bit too far, like far
Mm.
out, or a
Oh,
student
okay.
said something maybe a little bit too vulgar that the ref will turn around and, hey, you're gonna get kicked out if you do that again. Nothing to the point where it's been like, actually, you're
You're
gone
gone.
kind of thing. But
Right.
thank God. But I mean, we've teetered on the edge a few times.
Which is, I mean, that's the way, right? Because I mean,
Yeah,
that's what you're able to do. Is that it's
that's the goal at
that
some
is
point.
a goal,
To
is to be
teeter on the
rowdy.
edge.
But I think it's also not necessarily to be hyper disrespectful, but it's be able to, like,
No,
look,
yeah.
we are the curtain of distraction, and that's what we're going to do. And come hell or high water, whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was actually working out very well. So I got a few more questions for you. I want to see which one I want to do. These are, let's see. Oh, this one was good. You know everyone's future and it's not looking good, right? We're paying if you had to. Or two, what A, you know everyone's future and it's not looking good, or B, be frozen and then revived 500 years later. Which one would you like? Which one would you rather do?
Probably the Frozen.
Because this way all the futures that you knew would have happened by the time,
Yeah.
you woke up anyway. Another couple questions and I'll ask you a couple serious ones. If I wish I didn't know that. Think you're married to a great guy, keep an eye on him. The percentage of married men that are likely to cheat. One of these. A, 15%, B, 52%, C, 25%, or D, 30%. What is the percentage a
I'll go with
married man?
30.
Which one?
30.
30?
Yeah.
D, that's what it is.
Okay.
30%. I'm like, wow, that's a high
Whenever I
percentage.
do those, I like have a thought in my head. Okay, it's probably not going to be the most one, but it's going to be like the second most one. So that's what
I like
I
that.
had there.
I like that. See,
Strategy.
that's you know how to take tests. Here's one more fun fact that hopefully doesn't curtail your fast food habits. A study showed that this contained the most traces of E. coli. Which of these has contained the most traces of E. coli? A, milkshakes, B, French fries, C, chicky nuggies, or D, crushed ice?
Crushed ice.
Yep, that's the one. Crushed ice. I'm like, geez whiz.
Never will do that again.
Yeah, it's like, but AM PM has the best ice though. It's that.
I
It's
don't even
that.
think we have AMPMs out here anymore.
You don't?
I don't
The
know.
only reason I go to AMPM is because they have the hospital ice chips. They're like kind of like they look like little pellets, ice
Yeah.
pellets. So anyway, that's the only reason we go to them, because I've had my fridge repaired 4 times and it's still not producing ice. So I'm gonna have to get after them. So, back to these. These questions actually are inspired. So these are from an interview that Vogue does with celebrities. I don't know if you've ever been in Vogue. I have not.
I have not.
Okay, good. So, but one of the first things, which living person do you most admire?
Oh God. What are we? I'm over here talking about E. coli and crushed ice, and now you're making me answer this
Yeah, I'm
question.
making you think, man.
Um.
Only because you're feeling loose.
Yeah. Now that I've had like way too many of these. I gotta say, just I guess I'll just keep it simple with my mom. You know what I mean? A big mama's boy,
Very
and
cool.
appreciate all that she did with us growing up and things like that. So
Excellent. What else? Oh, this one was actually good because I asked this of Kyle. What is your most treasured possession?
my most treasured possession.
Right. Is it with you?
Um, yeah, I don't really know. Uh, yeah, it's a dog of possession.
Is that your is that your most prized possession right now?
I think it is.
Okay.
I got a dog. We've had her for gosh, like 3 years now, or
Okay.
4 years now. We got her as a rescue, and she's pretty important to
Her
us.
name?
So. Lola.
Lola?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like it. So is she just a mutt or what is she?
She is a half. Well, she's an Australian cattle dog by her papers.
Oh, interesting.
I'll say.
Okay.
But she's absolutely at least half pit. But
Oh, interesting.
we're pretty sure they didn't put that on her papers because pit bulls aren't allowed anywhere. So
What do you mean?
If you're renting, pretty much every single renting place does not allow pit bulls, and no apartments allow pit bulls.
Interesting.
That's why pit bulls are the most common dog to be in shelters, because they're not allowed anywhere.
I didn't know that.
So I think that's why they kind of didn't put that on our papers, because theoretically no one can tell her we can't have her anymore because her
Oh,
papers
got it. Okay.
say Australian cattle dog, but her face, pit bull face.
And then she's there. So that's interesting. So you're leaves you in your apartment. Was there a deposit or anything else that you had to do, or anything else like that?
Yeah, we had to pay pet fees and stuff for her, but she's
Gotcha.
worth it.
So yeah, that's fair. Because I don't know if you saw the interview with Kyle Dodd. It was a sweatshirt that I can't remember if it was the '86 or the '89 Lakers all signed.
Oh, that's cool.
He went to his grandfather took him to a Lakers game, and he knew someone, so they were like walking around in the floor, and they just kind of he this friend of theirs walked him into the locker room. We just
That's
got
super cool.
so he just got a bunch
Got
of
it
autographs.
all signed in it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
super
everyone got,
cool.
and he obviously he wanted Magic Johnson to get it signed, but he got Kareem and everyone else was there, but he didn't because I guess Magic was in another room getting taped, and so then they walked by and they kind of made eye contact, and Magic Johnson just kind of waved him over and he walked over, and so
That's
then
so cool.
and what happened was is that he was getting taped, and then so Magic kind of put him on his knee and they were talking, and then he's getting interviewed by like the press corps with Kyle Dodd on his knee. So I'm trying to figure out someone's got to find that picture. We got to
Yeah,
find the
definitely.
picture.
Well, first, and it's just crazy to think that that kid, ends up being, a college basketball player at a high
Right.
level, and yeah, that's just cool how life works out that way.
So that was actually very cool. So now my last question for you. So this one is actually something that came up with off the Sun Devil Summit. And our next one, by the way, our next Sun Devil Summit will be October 2nd. So one, two,
I'm gonna
three
have
weeks
to
away.
make that.
Yeah, we'd absolutely love to have you on there, play these nonsense games and just laugh and drink and have a good time. But the one that came up is what is the greatest meal you've had at a restaurant?
My favorite restaurant is called Angry Crab.
Okay.
You ever seen
No,
it?
but I'm going
There's
to
a
look that
couple
up.
of them in Phoenix.
Okay.
Um, it's just a southern seafood pot kind of thing.
Where's it at?
Like there's a couple of them. There's one in Mesa,
Okay.
one in Glendale, I think, and then I don't know where the other one is. But
Angry
um,
Crab
I'm
Shack. Go ahead.
I'm a big seafood kind of guy.
Okay.
My family has a sushi restaurant,
Okay.
so um, really big into seafood, and I've gone there. Like my girlfriend took me for my birthday a couple years ago, and it's expensive, so we never go. Like if
Okay.
you're dropping like at least $45 a person when you go and things like that. But it's literally just it comes in a plastic bag of just seafood and
Right.
sauce and veggies, and it's just amazing. So that's absolutely. I'm not a steakhouse kind of guy. Not a steak. That's not my thing.
Okay.
I'm honestly not even like a crab kind of person, but just throw some, shrimp and everything else in that, and
Right.
I'm good.
We did that actually. There's a place like that around here, and it was just a rainy, cold December day here in the Bay Area. And Mrs. Jedi ASU and I, I was working from home. She had a break. We said, let's go to lunch. And like you said, it's just this big bag that you just
Bag.
you just peel it open. It's just all right. You just start eating.
Yeah.
Just go start going.
And it's just all over your place. It's just amazing.
I
So,
just yeah, those
um,
are I just saw the website and I'm like, oh, that's yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's just you go and you can buy different ones, right? Because you can load it up with this or with that and everything
yeah, and
else.
then
And
add
so
the spices or no spice, and yeah, it's
exactly.
just that's my favorite restaurant. I haven't gone. We actually were talking about it not so long ago, but maybe we're still not going out to restaurants, but I don't know how
Okay.
that would work with takeout. So,
Yeah. See, that's the
uh,
other thing too, because there's something about it at the
like
table.
I don't know if I'm gonna walk out with like 3 bags of like plastic bags of food
Well,
and then go
they
home.
give you this big old cardboard box, but then again,
Yeah,
by the time you got home,
right. It's
is
just
it
not the
still
same.
fresh, as it were? Because I mean, there's something about it being done there. It's like the McDonald's fries. You have a very tight window to eat those, and then they go to pot, right? So it's like I think that's the way that fresh seafood was with everything else. So, but that was a key. So, what else are you working on? What do you want to plug? Is you up to anything? Do you want anyone to follow you, or you want to share
Um,
something?
I mean, if there's anybody still left at their 2.5 hours and 45 minutes of an awesome conversation, one, I just can't, thank you enough for, letting me come on today and just chat some football and some good memories. I think that's all
Absolutely.
kind of was today was is it just kind of sucks to going through this every day and not having things to look forward to. So it was nice to spend a couple hours just chatting and reliving some good memories. But
Good.
if anybody wants to keep up with what I'm doing, which honestly is nothing else besides sitting in front of my computer and trying to sell mortgages all day. give, give me a follow. Just Sun Devil Joey. I have some things I would thinking about working on, but I'll wait till that comes to time. But I just
How about you give
appreciate.
us, okay, so how about this? Let's put it out in the universe and let's give it some positive energy. Nothing specific, but what is the general high level 100,000 foot idea you're thinking of doing?
I think what I've been thinking of a long time is I travel to games.
Okay.
I enjoy it. My favorite thing is bringing. Usually, when I roll deep, or when we go to the games, my friends and I roll like at least 10 deep. You know what I
Wow.
mean, we
Okay.
we get an Airbnb, we do the whole thing,
Okay.
and I just think that when I think about ASU fandom in general, I don't think that we have a strong organization, loose organization that kind of does that for us
Okay.
and provides like a backbone of like, hey, I'm an ASU fan, so I want to be a part of this. I think other alumni associations do that really
Mm-hmm.
well, and I don't know if ours. And again, I'm just becoming an alumni, so I'm going to look at. I don't want to talk any smack about the alumni association.
It's an
Uh,
idea. It's an
yeah,
idea. It's a concept.
but
That's all we're doing.
I think that the main thing is just when I think about, I would like to have something where it's a little bit, and I think about like the tailgating groups that
Mm-hmm.
we have, like
Right.
something that we can kind of all come together and be like, hey, I'm a fan,
Mm-hmm.
you're a fan, like let's come together, let's have a
Right.
group where we can, know that we can meet somebody somewhere. We have somebody to go to the game with if we don't want to go by ourselves.
Right.
Because honestly, when I think about my student experience and I think about us building fans through that way, um, we all had people to experience that with it.
Right.
And I think for a lot of people who want to get into this fandom that you and I are a part of and have plenty of friends that we can go on social media with and
Absolutely.
chat away, I don't think everybody kind of has the opportunity to do that. So how can we create something that brings new people in while also creates bonds between people who feel that way?
I think that's a brilliant idea, right? Because again, it's definitely, what is it? It's so that's always been my goal, especially since the start of the quarantine and pandemic and everything else. Was like, look, I want to start building something that's a virtual community, right? Not all of
Mm.
us can be in Tempe or any one of these places, right? But building a virtual community where we can hang out and talk, right? But also, like you said, if there is an event someplace, beyond what the alumni group is doing, how else can you build that community? And I think
Right.
that's a brilliant idea. However I can help magnify or announce that, I am at your disposal. So as always, please, I think that's a
I
brilliant idea.
appreciate that. And like I
Of
said, I
course.
haven't thought about it much, but just thinking about, how different I've poked around a little bit at how different schools have loose fan
Oh,
groups and
interesting.
how they communicate and things, things like, for example, the U.S. Outlaws, how they have chapters, things
Oh
like
yeah,
that. So I've been
absolutely.
thinking about how you could do something similar and connect people, because I think that the one thing that's always really bothered me is I feel like all of our fan groups and all of the booster groups that we have are very structured around money. And if we're
Oh, I
being
see what you're saying.
fair, not all fans are able to contribute in that way. So how
Right.
can they contribute in ways through attendance, through atmosphere at games, through just overall support in general,
Right.
instead of just being like, I'm going to write this $10,000 check and I supported the program. But
Right.
I think that there are other ways to support the program as well.
And I think for me, I think that's a so I think back to my personal experiences, right? Especially when I was establishing my online presence. Like when I went to Wisconsin, I didn't know anyone. I actually went with two Wisconsin fans, so there wasn't any way for me to be able to connect with someone that way. So something like you're pitching, I think, would be a brilliant way to go. So anyway,
Yeah, and again, haven't thought about it much. Something that I've always kind of like had in the back of my mind of like,
right.
hey, I want to do this once I leave and
Hmm.
have a little time. And if that's
Oh, I lost him, and that's okay. You're looking at me twice. You get to see my fantastic mug on that other screen. There you are. Your audio.
I'm back.
There it
Okay.
is.
But anyway, if that's 50 people that want to do it, that's 50 people that want to do it. If that's 10 people, it's 10 people. And
And
I think that
like I said, I love it because again, from when I was at Wisconsin, I found it very difficult because for me, and as hard as this is to believe, I always have a difficulty networking or reaching out to people. And so I think being able to have something like that that is parallel to the alumni group, I think would have done a lot for me, right? Because then
And
I would have been able to have connected with.
I think that the one thing is different about like the alumni group in general is, for example, when I go to a football game, and this is nothing. I think the greatest thing about sports is that everybody has their own way in which they can experience it.
Right,
So, for example, if you want to stay on your couch, you stay on your couch and watch the game. If
right,
you want to go to the game, if you want to tailgate, if you want to go to the bar, there's so many different things.
of course.
I don't want to experience a football game by sitting in a ballroom with my drink tickets and my plate of buffet food, but I
Yeah,
know that there are people that do.
prefer
But
that. Absolutely.
how can we provide an opportunity for people who are looking for more of the traditional
Hmm.
tailgating experience, traditional football fan experience,
Right.
an outlet like that? And I think that groups like Mustache Nation,
Yes.
groups like that are absolutely doing it. And I think that just another option for people is something that I would hope to create one day. But at the end of the day, I just entered this world of alum and just
Yes.
fan
Absolutely.
status. So I was hoping to kind of just kick back and enjoy it this year and think about things, but we've all had way too much time to think about
Well,
things.
I think you have. I think it'd be a brilliant time because it's almost as if, again, I don't know what you do as your day job, but it's almost as if you're a broker of tailgates in the sense that
Exactly.
you are in the sense that okay, you can make your contacts with Crafty Devils, you can make your contacts with Nick Granillo, you can make your contacts with Mustache Nation, and there's so many others tailgates out there that we know, people that we have online and everything else, that they would be more than welcoming if, let's say, someone's visiting from out of town and they want to be able to hang out with people that they can trust and
Hmm.
enjoy the game. That's exactly what you'd be able to provide. Because for me, if I had gone to Wisconsin, right, and you had a service, it's like, okay, yeah, this is where, Mustache Nation is going to be. Look out for this guy, and he'll be expecting you. That would have made my Wisconsin experience a little bit different. Not that I didn't have a great experience. It would have been a little bit different. So I think it's a
Well, and
good idea.
yeah, and you said it like you said it absolutely perfect. I think this example is, I want to go to this game, but I don't want to go by myself.
Hmm.
But I know that these people will be there, and I can buy a group block of tickets with them,
Right.
or
Be a
um,
part of it.
there's a pregame here, or and I just know that a lot of people. I mean, I think that's something that I struggle with. Of like when I want to go to other things besides ASU stuff, is like
Right.
I feel that way. So I just think about people maybe who aren't connected or want to get more into it, that
Absolutely.
are looking for an outlet to do so. So just things that, like I said, that I've been thinking about.
And I think that's brilliant too, because I know that even if you connected with Mustache Nation, yeah, right. Mustache Nation has contacts at USC, at Utah, everywhere, right? Because they go so many places, right? So they would be able to actually introduce you to the right person. So if you have an alumni that's Ute, let's say they're a Ute, but they don't know who to talk to, but they still want to go have that experience
Right.
with fellow Utes, you'd be able to broker that introduction, and then they would be able to enjoy it and have a good time and have that experience at the football game. So I think it's definitely step one is with ASU, but it definitely gives you the ability to be able to connect with people everywhere, right,
Hmm.
across all of college football, and then eventually, you're going to make some money off it. So I think it's
Well, and then again, I don't know if I decided like I want to do this as a job, although I have thought of it and things like, the opportunities there. But I think just first in general, I just always think about, how can I, as a fan and as a somebody who cares way too much about this stupid game, how can I impact what's going on? And if my passion lies with fans and with the atmosphere in stadiums and arenas, then
right.
maybe I'll be best trying to improve that for us. So,
Absolutely.
and that's just things that I'm thinking about, and I've tossed the idea to a few people and see what's going on. But um, I don't know. Maybe I'll start working on it over this or whenever my job slows down and I can be a normal person again.
Well, like I said, I am at your disposal. Let me know how I can
I
help, and I
will
look forward to
definitely
it.
reach out to you when I have more of a concrete plan and we can talk
Wonderful.
further.
Well, I appreciate you. I can't thank you enough. I love you, love your family, and love everything you've done for me, for the show, and for Sun Devil Nation. So again, thank you for everything and sharing your memories on today's show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me. And then if anybody's still there, Go Devils.
Absolutely. We got 7 people online still, so they stuck
Cheers.
with us. Exactly.
Cheers.
Stay on the Zoom call real quick. I'm going to do a couple closing, and then we'll actually we'll talk a little bit more afterwards. Again, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully, I needed this show. It was actually it was a really weird week, and I was looking forward to it this entire time. So it was just great to be able to talk about, just what we all love and what we like doing. So, as I mentioned before, I don't have the graphic ready yet, but we have a Sun Devil Summit coming up on October 2nd. I will announce that on next week's show. You will see me tweeting it as well. But always, thank you again. Make sure you like and subscribe this channel, and making sure you're following the 42 Social Club on Twitter, Instagram, and all the other social media platforms, and myself, Jedi ASU, on Twitter and all the others as well. But as always, I love you. I can't thank you enough for being part of this. Make sure in the coming days that you love yourself and you love those around you, as always. And if there's anything else that you'd like to talk about, people you would like me to interview, or things you'd like to go through, send me an email, jediasu@gmail.com, and we will make that one happen. But as always, make it a great week. And as always, as you're going through the week, make sure that you are continuing. As always, please do stay social. Good night, everyone. And